Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. However, before we get into things, I just want to give a little update. Hey, now there were a lot of more modern pay-per-view events across WWE, AEW, NXT that I had yet to review, and it's been so long. I was so behind on them, and literally me being behind on those events, me be behind on reviewing those events, has caused a little bit of a ghost to be following me when it comes to that. So ultimately, I've made the executive decision that I'm not going to review those only because there's so many. I'm so far behind, and that includes stuff like SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, NXT Battleground on AEW All In, and only because and Double or Nothing and stuff like that. Only because there's so much, and a lot of times they run at the same time, so it kept filling the backlog more and more, and it's going to happen again because it seems like WWE is doing events to directly compete with AEW, which is a very bad idea, but yeah, so I've decided I will not review those. Now anything past this point, I should, hopefully theoretically, be reviewing. That being including, Forbidden Door, and I believe it's, um, not No Mercy. What's the upcoming NXT event? I believe it is, NXT Italy 2025. I believe the next one should be uh is it Heatwave? Yeah, Heatwave. Oh so Forbidden Door Heatwave's coming up, so that review will those reviews will hopefully be out next week. But yeah, the other ones I've decided I'll leave those to the wayside. Admittedly, I'm not. It does upset me a little bit, I can't be too upset at it because there are so many, and I want to keep putting them off, and they'll be so late that they'll almost be, I don't want to say irrelevant, but so past this time that I'm sure a lot of you, if those guys were up, would be like, "What the hell? Why isn't I talking about Double or Nothing from like 3 months ago?" So I've decided I will leave those to the wayside. But now switching gears, it's time for an invasion. More specifically, the WWF Invasion pay-per-view, the one and only that they did hit in 2001. So, as always, I am not professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I would say I had a pretty okay time watching this event. So I guess as technically this is where a lot of people consider this pay per view to be the first pay per view and the first event in the invasion storyline. Everything else that we reviewed up to this point is technically preliminaries, but it's important preliminaries. It's planted seeds up to this point, but for a lot of people, this is where the invasion really begins. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already have an idea of how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about the event and about each match, and I'm going to go match by match. A couple things before we get into it, though. For starters, this originally started off as fully loaded, but because of the storyline, it was changed to Invasion, and I can't lie, they had a promo for it, like they promoted the upcoming event when I reviewed King of the Ring, and at first I was confused. I'm like, wait, there's a fully loaded in 2001? Did I miss it on my schedule? Because I was checking the schedule to see what was next up to review, and I didn't see fully loaded. I'm like, hey, what happened? Was fully loaded not there? Did I miss an event? Did they cancel it? No, Fully Loaded was the event that was turned into Invasion, and technically this would be the last Fully Loaded. It would not be brought back next year or so. That does kind of suck, but yeah. So fully loaded. What it was the original name for this event, but it was changed to Invasion. But the other thing going into this is my goodness, the hype package is even the hype package to open things up very very warlike. Comparing it to War and everything, a little bit over the top, but it was still very hot. Although I believe it was Paul Heyman being compared to Joseph Stalin that was quite a choice, but it was a pretty hype opening package, and it does kind of show that the two sides are at war. Or now, how admittedly considering how the rest of 2001 goes in real life, is it slightly awkward? Sure, but it is still it does really build things up, which I guess is cool. The other thing, now that we get into the show proper, is that a lot of these matches is I'm not gonna lie, most of these matches are pretty short. Or only one, but only two of these matches, besides the main event, and crack over 10 minutes. The rest are less than 10 minutes. So oh, they kind of they load a lot of no pun intended to fully loaded, but they load a lot of matches on this card, but a lot of them are really short, or which is really weird. If you're gonna have all these matches and just make them really short, why have all these matches on pay-per-view? But nevertheless, there was a match on Sunday Night Heat as Chavo Guerrero defeated Scotty 2 Hottie. But the rest is on the card proper, and it's kind of being treated like Survivor Series, where when WFF wins, they kind of get a point, and then when the Alliance wins, they get a point. Points. It's not really a point system per se, like with Survivor Series or with like say bragging rights, but if anything, this is kind of primordial. And I mentioned before, it's kind of primordial version of the brand split that they would do the next year, but uh, excuse me, but otherwise, it's not really like points. It's more so victories, and so and by the time we get into the show proper, or the alliance is technically but up a point. But starting off the show proper in tag team action, we have Edge and Christian battling Lance Storm and Mike Awesome. Now, it says here that Lance Storm and Mike Awesome are representing ECW, but considering their team up, they bring up their team up history, and kind of the look for Mike Awesome here. It's kind of more like their WCW counterpart. Mike Awesome was part of WCW, where they kind of ruined his character a little bit. As I've kind of mentioned for or on the channel when I've in talking about the invasion, but it's nevertheless they are teaming against Edge and Christian here, and this match was okay. This match was pretty decent, I would say. All four of these guys are guys who are very impressive to see in the ring, and and they do bring up kind of the tag team history between Lancer and Mike Awesome. And also worth mentioning that Paul Heyman is now fully joined Team ECW, so he's no longer at the commentary desk. So now it's Jim Ross and Michael Cole, which I might not have liked them later on because I think that was around the time of heel Michael Cole. But here, I think Jim Ross and Michael Cole do make a very solid duo. Like thankfully compared to like Jerry Lawler and to an extent Paul Heyman, Michael Cole is a bit more subdued. I guess it is one of the reasons why he's kind of the lead man for several years after this point. But I think he complements Jr. relatively well, well, at least to me. But as for this tag team match, we do see even more signs of tension between Edge and Christian. By this point, Team ECK, a and Team ECKR. which includes Rhino, are no more, or being torn asunder by the King of the Ring tournament, and which kind of sucks. That friendships is ruined because of the King of the Ring tournament, but and the fact that Rhino has defected to the Alliance, but we also see more tension kind of between Edge and Christian, and it will lead to a split later on. But we will get there soon. But that ultimately Edge and Christian do pick up the win, and I believe after her after her Christian nails the spear on Mike Awesome, and Edge kind of falls on top of him to get the win. So big ups to that. They do get the win, but we'll see how things continue to unfold. And each time that a match happens or one side gets the win, we do cut like back and forth to both the Alliance side, like the Alliance locker room, and then the WWF locker room, kind of reacting to who won and everything. And sometimes if the Alliance wins, then the WWF will look like distraught. Vince McMahon will be very upset and everything, and he's hyping up his guys, I mean, like Undertaker, Steve Austin, and everything to get them ready for their match. And then when the WWF wins, then Vince will be happy. But then vice versa, if the WWF wins, then the Alliance will look kind of worried. But they're also hyping up their guys, that being like DDP, etc. But so we do see them cut back and forth between that to kind of it's kind of a cool move, but it gives more of like a continuity to things to me. But it is nice to see it laid out throughout the night. But next up is the referees match as Earl Hebner takes on Nick Patrick. That's right. WWF referee Earl Hebner takes on WCW referee Nick Patrick. The WCW referees have invaded it's not just the wrestlers, it's the referees as well. And so Earl Hebner and Nick Patrick have been getting into it. A lot of people forget Earl Hebner can definitely scrap. He's had plenty of experience in having to fight back against Triple H. H and the special guest referee for this match, because it's a referee fight, is Mick Foley. Won't be the last time we see him on this card. But the referees match, it goes about as you expect. They're not like trained professional wrestlers, so I don't expect them to be busting out all kinds of crazy moves. It's just kind of a dumb, fun match. And the referees and the other referees, both from the WWF side and the WCW side, I kind of come out, and they're kind of like pseudo lumberjacks in a way. It's kind of done like a lumberjack match. But why does WCW side only have like 3 referees versus WWF has like 6? What the hell? But nevertheless, Earl Hebner does ultimately. First of all, the WCW referees try to get involved, and Mick Foley sends them to the back. But also, Earl Hebner does indeed pick up the win. And as Hebner hits Patrick with what is described as a flying shoulder blow. So Earl Hebner does pick up the win. I would have lost my mind, and I probably would have considered this the greatest match ever if Earl Hebner hit a pedigree. Like that was the only thing missing from this match. This is the shortest match of the night, and Foley does attack Nick Patrick afterwards, who kind of gets in Foley's face. But also, it's crazy to think that Mick Foley, what has been on all 3 sides of this whole invasion. He's in the WWF now, of course. Then he was in but he was also in WCW, and he was also in ECW. So that's nice little tidbit. It's but that's yeah. So Mick Foley attacks Patrick afterwards, and Earl Hebner gets the win. But man, I would have paid anything to see Earl Hebner hit a pedigree on Nick Patrick. He learned from the bad, as Triple H definitely primed Earl Hebner for this. I wonder if I wonder if Triple H would have gotten involved in this. It seems kind of like a long shot, but Triple H was out for the invasion, so you never know. Uh, but nevertheless, next up in tag team action, the APA, that being Rajon and Farouk, who are the WF Tag Team Champions, battle Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Haire, who are the WCW Tag Champions. So Chuck Palumbo, Sean O'Haire have have been attacking some WF talent, including the APA. They've been attacking them, so now the APA is fighting back. So it's tag team champions versus tag team champion, and it goes about as you expect. This match not too bad, not too bad. Especially the Palumbo and O'Haire are very impressive in the ring, and especially O'Hare, like for a man his size with his to have his agility is pretty cool. Well, sadly, not that long a match, and the APA does get the win. And Bradshaw nails, I believe, he Palumbo with the clothesline from hell. Also, the APA does get the win. But next up in singles action, and Billy Kidman, and who is the WCW Cruiserweight Champion, battles X Pac, who is the WWF Light Heavyweight Champion. So, of course, another case of champion versus champion, and Kidman does say he's going to take out X Pac. It is interesting to know that X Pac has been also on both sides, at least in WF and in WCW, but he's WF through and through here, taking on Kidman, and it's also worth mentioning X Pac. Uh, um, I'm not sure if I mentioned it back at King of the Ring because I believe he had it at King of the Ring as well. But we do have the Uncle Cracker theme, so there's that. But also is worth mentioning at this point that Just Incredible is no longer a part of the X Factor. He left the X Factor, so now it's just X Pac and Albert. Albert will be in action later on tonight, um, but Justin Credible has left the X Factor to join up with the Alliance, and it's more specifically on the ECW side of things, which does make sense. But nevertheless, we have this match here, and this match was pretty fun. And this was a very solid back and forth with both guys, both Kidman and X Pac, very athletic, very much high flyer. Ultimately, it comes down to who pretty much a mistake. That being when X Pac goes for his Bronco Buster, Kidman gets the leg up, meaning X Pac is probably never gonna have children again, and then Billy Kidman nails the shooting star as thankfully doesn't botch it this time, at least not from what I could tell, to pick up the wins, and pretty fun match, I can't lie. But next Raven and battles William Regal. Also, Oh, of course, William Regal, who, despite from WCW, or at least part of WCW at one point, again is now part of Team WF. He's the commissioner and everything, and so he's going to be battling Raven her and they do bring up Raven's history, not just in WCW but also ECW, but Raven's more so on the WCW side of things when it comes to this, which does make sense. But ultimately, he not really a bad match, just kind of not bad, not abysmal from either side. Just kind of the air. The other big story is that Taz shows up and suplexes Regal, and that allows Raven to nail the what they call the Raven effect, but I'm sure others may know it as the even flow DDT in order to pick up the win. So, nice, great way to make your alliance look strong. That Raven needed help in order to beat Regal. But nevertheless, that's how it goes. But next up in six-man tag action, Chris Kanyon, Hugh Morris, and Sean Stasiak, all from the WCW side, battle Albert, Big Show, and Billy Gunn from the WF side. Why are these six together? but they do kind of explain that Billy Gunn and Big Show have kind of formed a similar tag team, kind of formed, I should say, a tag team of sorts, or and Albert's there, I guess, and then Canyon, Hugh Morris, Sean Stasiak, they kind of describe them as like young, hungry lions, so kind of like new guard and everything. And this match kind of okay, a which does suck because at least in terms of like especially Chris Canyon and some decent talent and within this match, but kind of a nothing match as well. I'll kind of take her to leave it. It's but uh but the WCW side of things, I think it's very much also supposed to be because Big Show, to an extent, Billy Gunn and Albert kind of tower over their opponent, and even though Hugh Morris does have a decent amount of size to him, and I guess to an extent Stasiak, but they even bring up Sean Stasiak's father, Stan Stasiak, but no, nevertheless, they do kind of sneak the victory and after Stasiak attacks, I believe Billy Gunn. Yes. Stasiak attacks him and allows Morris, or I should say, Stasiak attacks Gunn sneakily, allowing Morris to pick up the pin and get the win for the Alliance. But they're immediately taken out afterwards. So, I guess WF wins and gets the moral victory, I guess. But yeah, a pretty kind of match. But next up, Tajiri, he seeks to get revenge for his fallen friend, his and fallen comrade William Regal, and seeks to get his revenge against Taz. As It's even funnier when you consider apparently William Regal and Tajiri did not like working with each other in real life. But nevertheless, Tajiri, who worth mentioning is Team WF, but he was also part of ECW, who he takes on Taz as from ECW. Who in this match, nothing too crazy. Tajiri does nail Taz with the mist, and nails the buzzsaw in order to pick up the win. But otherwise, nothing too crazy happens in this match. But yeah, so Tajiri does get the win for the WF. But next up in hardcore action for the WF Hardcore Championship, Jeff Hardy, he from Team WF, defends against Rob Van Dam from ECW / The Alliance. Now, a couple things. For starters, this is the only title match on the card, and I guess it makes sense. But this is the only title match on the card. The other thing is that RVD does nail Matt Hardy with the chair, in the backstage area right before the match. He manages to sneak up on RVD, or RVD. He manages to sneak up on the Hardys, nails Matt with the chair, says he'll see Jeff out there, and sure enough, he will see Jeff out there. So Jeff is also kind of worried about his brother's condition as well. But this match, I'd argue, is probably, other than I think the main events, and this match is probably the best of the night. Like, this was just a very fun back and forth. And with the exception of the main event, and this is the second longest match of the night at 12 minutes 40 seconds, but this is just a very, very fun back and forth. It definitely helps that I love these two guys' body of work, that being RVD and Jeff Hardy, and lots of fun, high flying action between the two, who just makes the match even better, in my opinion. So, definitely a very, very fun match in that regard. And ultimately, RVD, he does manage to get the win over Jeff Hardy after placing the championship on him and then nailing the 5-star frog splash. The thing is, though, he put the championship medal faceplate side up. So if anything, that hurt RVD more than it hurt Jeff Hardy. But nevertheless, RVD does pick up the win and the Hardcore Championship. So congrats to him, and yeah, very, very, very fun match. Definitely, if you don't look at anything else from the show, for historical reasons or for like fun factor, or the matches I would recommend when it comes to that, for like fun factor, I definitely recommend the referee match. For I guess historical significance, the inaugural brawl, which we'll get to. But then for but then and the most fun for like absolute just pure fun factor, definitely RVD versus Jeff Hardy. They would go on to have other, or some would consider better matches later on, but as for this one, this is still a really, really fun match. But next up is the first ever Bra and Panties match, as has Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler from WCW / The Alliance battle Trish Stratus and Lita, and I use the word battle very, very loosely. And Mick Foley's a special guest referee. Mick Foley, they said, had a clause that if he ref the referee's match, he'd ref a different match, and this was that other match. All I can say is 2001 was a different time, and I will leave it at that. That's ultimately Tori Wilson and Stacy Keibler challenged Trish and Lita to this match, and they end up on the losing end of things as they're stripped down to their bra and panties. Like I said, 2001, different time. I'm but moving on to the main event, and in 10-man tag team action, and or as they bill it, the inaugural brawl, which pretty much just is, I guess, code for 10-man tag team action. The Alliance, and that being, or I think at this point they weren't called the Alliance just yet. They were still called just Team WCW / ECW. That being Booker T, the Dudleys, Diamond Dallas Page, and Rhino. Who are accompanied by Shane, Stephanie McMahon, and Paul Heyman. Battle Team WF, that being Chris Jericho, Kane, Kurt Angle, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and The Undertaker. So, heading into this match, of course, WCW's been WCW / ECW has been causing a lot of problems. And Vince, and in response to that, at calls for the old Stone Cold Steve Austin to come back, the one who was the foul-mouthed SOB who bucked at authority. He needs that Steve Austin back, and back that Steve Austin comes to help out Team WF and ultimately lead them into this match, which is going to make things awkward in just a few moments, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so Steve Austin is leading the charge for Team WF. As for who's leading the charge for WCW / ECW, honestly, I think it's meant to be Diamond Dallas Page, but you could also argue it's probably Booker T, but nevertheless, as you have WCW and ECW, who kind of uh it's kind of a coin flip as to who's supposed to be very much the leader, but even from even on paper, are very solid picks from either side. Granted, one of the biggest things about the Invasion storyline, which we'll talk about more when we like wrap things up, is kind of the lack of star power, or like major star power. But it is worth mentioning there was still some star power to be had there. But nevertheless, this match, very solid, very, very energetic, very fast paced. It definitely feels like that the stakes are very high for this match, as both sides battle it out. Even starts off with a brawl, which I thought the inaugural brawl just meant all 10 would be just battling all around the arena, but and things do break down repeatedly in this match. But ultimately, it's just a 10-man tag, which admittedly does kind of take the wind out of the sails. But But nevertheless, we do see both sides. As I think both sides get relatively plenty of time to shine. It is worth mentioning. I forgot to mention this in my King of the Ring review. How there was kind of a rumor that Chris Jericho and or Chris Benoit would take the WWF Championship over to the WCW side. I'd I'd and this was before ECW had entered the chat, at which Jericho and Chris Benoit were part of all three, that being WCW, ECW, and WWF. So there was that rumor in kayfabe, but ultimately it proved to be untrue. I do wonder what things would have been like from the Chris Benoit side of things, considering he had his neck injury and thus was forced to miss the invasion. But I do also wonder, with Stephanie McMahon being in charge of ECW, what Triple H, what the dynamic would have been between her and Triple H? Would Triple H have joined the ECW side? It makes about as much sense as what happens in just a few moments in this match. But would Triple H have stayed with the WF and kind of opposed his wife? If in kayfabe they would end up splitting like the next year, so there's that. So I wonder if that was supposed to happen during the invasion. But nevertheless, how the match ends, which I'm sure is the moment you've all been waiting for, is that Austin comes in and Austin throws the referee. The referee was knocked out, so he throws him back into the ring and then attacks Angle, nails it with the stunner, and then Booker T pins him against the win. So Austin has betrayed the WWF and has joined the alliance. Why? It doesn't. Here's the thing, and even before I fully got into the meat and potatoes of it and talking about the invasion storyline, and Austin defecting from WF to WCW/ECW didn't make sense. And it's like this was some Austin very public was fired from WCW for not being marketable enough, and then and granted, Austin admit part of that is kind of there is some truth to that at the fact that he wasn't really the character that we all knew and loved yet, and then didn't spend that much time in ECW, and really found his major success in the WF. So naturally, going to WCW/ECW just makes all the sense in the world. But then the other thing is, now even with context, seeing kind of like the hype packages, seeing the actual event itself, it makes even less sense now because Austin coming back as the real Stone Cold, or the old Stone Cold, I should say, happened that Raw right before this event ends. It was the go home Raw right before Invasion, and then even in this match, Austin spent the majority of the time with the WF battling the Alliance, and he was kind of kicking their ass. Why then would Austin immediately turn back to the Alliance, the people he was just beating? It made absolutely no sense. Now, when things started off with the brawl, before I knew it would be a 10-man tag, I thought Austin was going to stall and not come out for a bit, and then that would be how the turn happened. And Austin doesn't come out, and then when he does come out, then he betrays the WF. I think that somehow would have made uh, slightly more sense. It still would have been really weird and dumb, but it would have made slightly more sense. But then Austin turning on Team WF to join the Alliance it's just weird. It was pretty dumb, and that for a lot of people was when what was kind of the turning point, and when people started to really realize that, oh, this invasion storyline isn't going to end well. Well, if you can believe it, it's going to get even weirder, but that's for a different time. But that's going to do it for the event. If I had to pick the strongest and weakest match of the night, the strongest would either be the main event or the or probably RVD versus Jeff Hardy. The weakest, probably Canyon Morse and Stazak versus Albert Big Show and Billy Gunn on but that's really just me. And the very much fun factor is the referee match from somewhat of a kind of dumb, funny in a way, Schadenfreude kind of point of view, but yeah, but nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below. Your thoughts on the Invasion pay-per-view and my review. Did you like Invasion? Did you like my review of Invasion? Let me know. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace. All right. Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. Is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, we are continuing our look at the Invasion pay-per-views. We are almost done. We are almost at the finish line. But now it's time to bring the Invasion storyline to the biggest party of the summer, and and the party's getting even bigger because now The Rock is back in the picture. So will he be able to take the WCW World Championship from Booker T, or will the Alliance be able to hold on to both world titles? Because of course at this point Austin is still the WWF champion, but he faces the man and the main man that he turned on at Invasion, that being Kurt Angle. Also, two world titles on the line. Who will walk out victorious? Let's find out. I'm, of course, talking about SummerSlam 2001. Now, of course, as always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I definitely had a pretty good time, I would say, for the most part, with this show. Quite a bit good, some not as good, but that's just the nature uh, of pay-per-views, who's especially kind of around this time. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about each match, and I'm going to go match by match. So starting with, well, first of all, we have a pre-show match, that being a tag team match as Jacqueline, Lita, and Molly Holly represent the WWF, defeat Ivory, Stacy Keibler, and Tori Wilson from the Alliance. But next up, to open up the show for the Intercontinental Championship, Edge seeks to take the Intercontinental Championship back to the WWF, from the Alliance's Lance Storm. So, oh, admittedly, I'll have to see when exactly Lance Storm won the Intercontinental Championship. It is not showing me here. That's okay. I can see if I can look into it here. So I do want to see when exactly he won the uh, Intercontinental Championship. Okay, so he beat Albert for it. Hey, if you remember, Albert was the Intercontinental Champion back at Invasion. So he beat Albert for it on the July 23rd episode of Raw. And now he's facing Edge for the title. Oh, or defending the title against Edge. Edge, of course, had won King of the Ring and is on a big old roll. We see it continuing to go further and further from here. This match, pretty good. But both these guys definitely capable of putting on a really solid match, especially Lance Storm. Of course, no disrespect to Edge. Christian does show up and accidentally nails Edge with the spear. Here's kind of teasing more of that dissension between them. And and it eventually would lead to them splitting, I believe, the next night on Raw. Now I did misremember and admittedly, so let me see. He he so it just says shortly afterwards. So, I'm not sure if it was next night on Raw. I forget exactly. Let me try going to let me try going here. But Christian does turn on Edge eventually, which they had been teasing, but so showing more of that tease here with Christian almost accidentally costing Edge the match. Ultimately, he doesn't though, because Edge does pick up the win and becomes the Intercontinental Champion. So, the Intercontinental Championship is back on the WF side of things, and Christian, like I said, would eventually betray Edge, join the alliance, all that. But for the time being, the Intercontinental Championship is back in the WWF camp. And, so Edge beats Lance Storm here, and yeah, pretty solid match. Edge does get a pretty nasty cut over his eye. Or I believe or actually, never mind. I'm thinking of the next event, that being Unforgiven, is actually not Edge. So Edge, but yeah, really great match. But next up in six-man tag team action, the Dudley Boys, and Test, who are part of the Alliance, representing the Alliance, hence battle. The APA, that being Bradshaw and Farouk and Spike Dudley. Damn, so Spike was just teaming with anybody he could at this time to combat his brothers. Test was part of the WF. He went back to the WF side. He was part of the WF until they accused him of being the mole. We don't quite know who the Alliance mole is in the WF just yet, but they accused it. They accused Test of being the mole, and Test was like, "You know what? Screw you guys who accused me and attacked me. I'm gonna join the Alliance anyway." Honestly, understandable. Like, hey, like I guess it's kind of a similar argument that some. Actually, I'm not going to make that analogy, but Tess does join the alliance, so he's part of the alliance side of things, and he's teaming with Bubba Ray and Devon. Spike still has the same theme music as the Dudleys, but now at least he's wearing different camo, so that's something, I guess. But as for this match pretty alright. Kind of your standard tag team affair. Not a super whole lot of meat on the bones. Shane does show up and nail Bradshaw with a steel chair, which does allow Tess to get the win. So Shane helping out the alliance, helping out his guys essentially. There's that aspect, but yeah, not really bad. Just not a whole lot when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, that's okay. But next up, for both the WCW Cruiserweight Championship and the WF Light Heavyweight Championship. So I believe this is a match where they would be officially unified. It and by unified I mean we'll get to it. X Pac, who is the Cruiserweight Champion, battles Tajiri, who is the Light Heavyweight Champion, and I believe X Pac was also Cruiserweight Champion while he was in WCW, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 6. And wow, he actually won it at Super Bowl 7. And Okay, hey, but yeah, so it's X Pac versus Tajiri. X Pac not coming out to the Uncle Cracker theme for the X Factor, so I guess they're done away with that, at least on this show. But essentially title for title. This match pretty fun, some really good back and forth. Both these guys are very good workers, so it makes for a pretty decent match. And X Pac ultimately does pick up the win, and thanks to a distraction from Albert, even though Albert shows up, and he does get nailed with the red mist. It does allow X Pac to get the win, so Albert does end up helping out X Pac when it comes to that. So X Pac now holds both titles, and he would hold the Cruiserweight Championship and the Light Heavyweight Championship until until the Light Heavyweight Championship was eventually like kind of quietly retired, and by that I mean X Pac kind of held it and then just kind of stopped showing up with it. So the Light Heavyweight Championship was essentially no more, which I guess makes sense because in essence the Light Heavyweight Championship was essentially the WF's answer to the cruiserweight division, but at least WCW's cruiserweight division. Of course, the cruiserweight division very much on fire, very much one of the high focal points of WCW. So, WF was like, hey, we don't need that. We got the cruiserweight division at home, and the light heavyweight division, and was the cruiserweight division at home. um, uh, in every sense of the word because it was kind of a week. But I imagine, and eventually, because now they have WCW in the fold of the WF, they don't need the light heavyweight championship anymore. So it eventually was retired. The cruiserweight championship would stick around for a few more years up until 2007, with the last holder of the title being Swoggle. Yeah, it's better that you don't ask questions. But so the titles were essentially unified there. But next up, in singles action in somewhat of a grudge match, Chris Jericho who takes on the Man Beast Rhinos. Oh, now, there's a couple threads going into this match when it comes to the story of this match. For starters, there's Chris Jericho has been making fun of Stephanie McMahon a lot. Uh, uh, I feel like of all the people who made fun of Stephanie McMahon, I feel like Jericho was usually the most creative. Maybe maybe kind of right behind him would be like The Rock and maybe Triple H, which is kind of messed up because that's her husband. But I would say Jericho is usually the most creative. Uh, Insulting Stephanie every chance he got about pretty much everything. A lot of very much a lot of perverted jokes, of course. But the other thread, though, so Rhino is essentially tasked with taking out Chris Jericho, kind of defending Stephanie's honor. But the other thread is that they acknowledge a commentary that Chris Jericho has never beaten Rhino. Oh, and they talk about it a lot. First of all, it's worth mentioning the commentary team for the show is back to being Jim Ross and Paul Heyman, but Paul Heyman is kind of the commentator for the Alliance side, so it's kind of that face heel dynamic. But but yeah, Rhino has always been Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has never been Rhino, and they talk about how Chris Jericho has not been Rhino. They talk about that fact a lot. The fact gets brought up a lot. Surely, I'm sure you see where this is going, because sure enough, Jericho does get the win in this match. It's actually a pretty fun, pretty competitive match. Stephanie he does try to get involved on a couple of occasions, including almost tripping Jericho up when he was on top rope, and then Jericho gets hit with what they call it on commentary like a half gore, so they call it a go, or at least Jim Ross does. But Jericho who eventually does beat Rhino with the Walls of Jericho. Well, they call it the Walls of Jericho, but it's actually the Lion Tamer. So Jericho has the Walls Jericho locked in at first, but then he shifts to the Lion shift. My goodness. He has the Walls of Jericho in at first, then he shifts to the Lion Tamer, and that's what makes Rhino tap out. So really, Rhino. They say Walls of Jericho on commentary. It says Walls of Jericho in the wiki here, but it's actually the Lion Tamer. So just stating that for the record. But next up in a ladder match for the Hardcore Championship, Jeff Hardy defends against Rob Van Dam. So, if you remember back at Invasion, these two faced off or the for the Hardcore Championship, and RVD got the best of Jericho there. Some point, looks like Jeff Hardy got his championship back. Like, like that. That's the thing. And it kind of talks about like the big stuff, the big storylines on the wiki here. But they also do talk about the Hardcore Championship. So, oh, let's see. He, uh, he, okay. Okay, so I see here. So on the August 13th episode of Raw, Rob Van Dam was going to defend the Hardcore title against Kurt Angle. Why? Uh, Kind of weird for Kurt Angle, who's pretty much like a main eventer at this point, to be in the Hardcore Championship division. But a bit. To be fair, that did happen sometimes because Undertaker and Kane were hardcore champions. But Hardy did end up pinning RVD anyway because that was kind of the Hardcore Championship rules to win back his Hardcore Championship. So, so it's now leading to this ladder match here, and they put over a commentary. They talk about a lot. This being the first ladder match for the Hardcore Championship, and these two definitely tore the house down. It already helps that at it's a ladder match, and you guys know how much of a sucker I am for ladder matches. But otherwise, the action between these two in terms of this match is absolutely fantastic. It is phenomenal. Some scary moments, some kind of scary moments, which is kind of the nature of ladder matches, but a lot of fun back and forth, and eventually, RBD does regain the Hardcore Championship. So the Hardcore Championship is once again in the camp of the Alliance. So there is that. But yeah, definitely a hell of a match. Honestly, my words cannot do it justice. I definitely recommend it. Recommend checking it out. I should say. But next up for the WCW Tag Team Championship and the WF Tag Team Championships, so those titles are due to be unified. The Brothers of Destruction, that being Kane and The Undertaker, who are the WCW Tag Team Champions, battle Diamond Dallas Page and Chris Kanyon, who are the WWF Tag Team Champions. So let me say that again. And Diamond Dallas Page and Kanyon from the Alliance are the WWF Tag Team Champions. The Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction, are the WCW Tag Team Champions. That's all I can really say. Hey, but nevertheless, of course, is continuing the feud between DDP and Undertaker. Of course, it started off with DDP stalking Undertaker's wife Sarah. Chris Kanyon showed up. Of course, he and DDP very good friend, and Chris Kanyon showed up, and obviously won the tag titles at some point, and then Undertaker and Kane won the WCW tag titles at some point. So this is winner take all essentially for both these sides. Now this match, not great. It essentially this is less of a match and more DDP and Canyon getting the crap kicked out of them for about 10 minutes or so. Oh, and more so DDP. It's kind of funny, admittedly, because as they do let Canyon leave the cage. Like Chris Canyon's trying to escape. It's one of those ones where both members of the team have to escape the cage in order to win. So Kane's trying to chase Canyon. Undertaker has a let him go. So, essentially, Undertaker and Kane alone in the ring with DDP, and they essentially annihilate him in within the confines of the match. This was pretty much about Undertaker finally fully getting his revenge on DDP, as if he hasn't been kicking the crap out of him enough up to this point. Nope, gotta pile on more. I think this is kind of like if I'm understanding correctly, I believe this is pretty much like the end of the feud between the two. But yeah, so Brothers of Destruction, and almost on the level of like a glorified squash. Obviously, DDP and Canyon do get offense in, and it does suck because both DDP and Canyon are incredibly talented, especially Chris Canyon. Like if you get the chance, check out some of If you're unfamiliar with Chris Canyon, check out some of his stuff in WCW. It is his some really awesome stuff. Of he was very, very innovative, of course. RIP to Chris Canyon, but essentially, this kind of borders on squash, and it's more so about Undertaker beating down DDP, more so than it's about how the actual tag team aspect of the match, or even the tag team titles. Those almost feel, I don't want to say fully like an afterthought, but it's definitely more so about Undertaker and now Kane beating down DDP. So there's that, I guess. But yeah, sure enough, uh, that's how you does it there. Poor DDP. But next up in your semi-main event, the first of the two world title matches, Kurt Angle seeks to take the WF Championship back to the WF, but he's got to go through the Texas Rattlesnake Stone Cold Steve Austin, who at this point has joined the alliance. And he turned on Team WF at Invasion, has joined the alliance. He states his reasoning being that he felt rejected by the WF, and that he found a team that appreciates him in the alliance. He accuses Vince McMahon of grooming Kurt Angle to be the next WF champion, and so Austin has gone full paranoid, and so Kurt Angle is now going to attempt to take the title back from Stone Cold Steve Austin, and so it essentially leads to this match here. And Stone Cold Steve Austin has gotten new theme music. Gone is Glass Shattered by Disturbed. Now we have Stone Cold Steve Austin's Alliance theme, which for starters, it has an alternate glass sounding intro. And it's very it sounds very fast paced, very upbeat, very chaotic. A lot of people pointed out it sounds very much like Tekken music. It sounds like exactly like something you would hear in Tekken, and that's not a bad thing. Tekken music is awesome, but it definitely sounds like something out of Tekken. But it does kind of fit Austin as more like paranoid, kind of out there, borderline psychopath persona, as he's leading the alliance, leading by example, which that example being humiliating and beating down other alliance members when they disagree with him. So, Steve Austin essentially becoming a tyrant, and so Kurt Angle is attempting to bring the championship back to the WF side. This match was very, very fantastic. Like, um, both these guys, very awesome. You definitely feel kind of the vitriol that both these men have for each other, at least in terms of storyline. You definitely feel it. The story's told really well. Oh, and these two absolutely tear the house down against each other, just absolutely going against each other. It has that big fight feel. Oh, and Austin doing just about everything to hold on to the championship, about almost getting desperate. But ultimately, Austin attacks several referees. Until Angle nails the Angle Slam on Austin, goes to pin him, but Nick Patrick shows up. Nick Patrick is the WCW referee. He's one of the WCW / Alliance referees. Which on an unrelated note, where are the ECW referee? He's no sign of Bill Alfonso anywhere. I think Bill Alfonso is the only ECW referee I can think of, but we have plenty of WCW referees. We have like Charles Robinson, we have Nick Patrick, who's kind of the leader of the WCW referees, but no sign of the ECW referees anywhere. But sure enough, Nick Patrick shows up and disqualifies Austin. So Austin holds on to the title, but Kurt technically gets the win, and JR is living. Something I feel like I should point out: JR and his vitriol. Oh, hey, a lot of people said that JR could definitely convince you to hate someone just on his commentary alone, and very much so is apparent with Austin. It was apparent, and it was already apparent with like Triple H, but now it's even more apparent with Steve Austin, especially after turning on the WWF, and Jim Ross just like going in on Austin just about every chance he get. You definitely feel it. It does lead to a lot of semi annoying arguments between him and Paul Heyman, but that's kind of the nature of things. But Kurt Angle does put Nick Patrick in the ankle lock, so that is something. But yeah, so Austin essentially escapes with the WF Championship, and normally DQ endings can be hit or miss, but I think in this case it definitely kind of works. Erickson definitely plays more into the character of Austin, him trying to have so much of a death grip on the WF Championship. So I think it pays off, and I think it works for the most part when it comes to that. But yeah, really, really, really excuse me, really awesome match between the two. And they will rematch at Unforgiven, so we'll see if the match at Unforgiven is better, or I should say if it can top this. But yeah, really fantastic match. And then last but certainly not least, for the WCW Championship, The Rock seeks to take the championship, the WCW World Championship from Booker T. So The Rock is back. He's rejected the alliance and it's put him in the crosshairs with Booker T, who has nailed The Rock with which is essentially at first the rock bottom, but has become one of Booker T's new moves, that being the bookend. And so it's essentially the rock bottom versus the bookend, the people's elbow versus the spinneroonie. Yeah, and it's led to Paul Heyman saying Booker T is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, and saying the spinneroonie is the most electrifying move in sports entertainment. A couple things I have to point out on commentary in this match. For starters, Paul and admittedly, as I'm recording this, I'm actually not finished with Unforgiven. I'm literally in the midst of the main event between Austin and Angle at Unforgiven, so I got to finish watching that, and then obviously I'm reviewing it later on tonight. Um, Paul Heyman calls Alt Booker T the book throughout this match, and then same at Unforgiven, and it's kind of annoying. I can't lie. Like uh like if it was once or twice, I think it'd be kind of dumb, goofy, but it said so much that it starts to become kind of grating, and like like well, like plays on nicknames, like kind of joke nicknames like that are cool. I don't have a problem with it, but it did get a little excessive for my taste. But the other thing is that Jim Ross is kind of criticizing the Spinneroonie, and going against Paul Heyman, putting over the Spinneroonie as hard as he did, and he says it sounds like a he says it's not. I forget his exact verbiage. He says it sounds kind of like a pasta dish that like a chef would cook up, like some kind of TV dinner chef would cook up spinneroonie. And it made me laugh because lo and behold, Booker T would end up doing a Chef Boyardee commercial where they did the spinneroonie. I believe it is still on YouTube, but look it up. I don't know if that commercial was done during the midst of the invasion, if it was done later, but if it was done, um, then it's a pretty funny jab at that. But 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 if it was but if he hadn't done that commercial yet, then my goodness, JR called it. So it should be no. Oh, oh, so it should be on YouTube. Booker T, Chef Boyardee. Yep. Booker T. Oh man, yeah. Yeah, it's for the beefaroni, and they call it like beefaroonie in the commercial, and saying that Booker T confused it for beefaroonie, and then like child him came up with with the spinneroonie move, and stuff like that. It's just a pretty funny commercial. Oh, but I'm also glad I YouTubed it because I forgot he did a Hungry Man commercial as well. Booker T was really in his commercial bag. It's just too bad he didn't get that at a Japanese shampoo commercial from WrestleMania 18. But now that the tangent's out of the way, as for this match was fine. It was pretty good. Like both The Rock and Booker T, very talented, but at the same time, kind of a foregone conclusion. And because you pretty much knew The Rock was going to win it, it was pretty much a matter of how. Booker does get some solid offense, some solid enough offense in. And Shane is down there, kind of accompanying Booker T, and he does perform provide like interference and stuff, and kind of tries to interfere on Booker T's behalf, up until Shane nails The Rock with the title, but then the APA show up and Bradshaw nails clothesline from hell on Shane for costing them the match earlier. Or then, sure enough, how the match ends, Booker T, sure enough, nails his spinner Rooney, so he got it in the match. Then The Rock kips nails rock bottom, and picks up the win, and becomes a new WCW World Champion. So, oh, cool. So the Alliance has the WF Champion, and more, and the WF has the Alliance Championship. Again, it's better that you don't ask questions. But as for this match, it was still really solid, even if, and I think a solid enough main event, even if you kind of knew all along that Booker T probably wasn't going to beat The Rock. If he beat The Rock here, it definitely would have been a surprise, but otherwise, yeah, you knew Booker T. He did not have a single chance of beating The Rock here. But yeah, so that is it for the show. I also, this is kind of a non sequitur, right? But I do have to, or not really a non sequitur, but something else I feel like I probably should bring up is Sean Stasiak's running gag of it starts with him. I forget exactly after which match, but he comes in trying to find Austin earlier in the show, and then Deborah tells Sean to Sean Stasiak, that is, to make an impact of your own and kick somebody's ass. And Sean Stasiak tries twice to run into The Rock, and The Rock each time just sidesteps like a cartoon character, and Sean Stasiak crashes into something like a cartoon character and like a goof. And The Rock just goes back to what he was saying. The first time it happens is when he's being interviewed about the upcoming match and whether or not he's 100% after receiving the bookend through the table, which is also worth mentioning. Earlier in the show, Shane got Booker T a present, that being a pair of bookends, hence like actual bookends for like books and stuff. So there was that, and then the second time was when The Rock was in like the trainer's room, and Sean Stasiak tried it again. Poor Sean Stasiak slash meat. But as for the show itself, the strongest and weakest match of the night for me. The strongest is, you could obviously honestly, you could pick between either the WF Championship match or the Hardcore Championship match. Both were really good for kind of two different reasons. As the weakest, probably Brothers of Destruction versus DDP and Canyon, which it does hurt my heart to say. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor, first of all, well, the first favor is, pardon me, as I accidentally hit my mic, but the second favor I have of you is to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload, and let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on SummerSlam 2001, my review. Did you like the show? Did you like my review? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace. All right. Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It's Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. So, after the fallout of SummerSlam, it's time for the next event in our look in the Invasion storyline. And there is no forgiveness. In fact, the WWF superstars are unforgiven. And not the greatest segue, I suppose, but screw it. It's time for Unforgiven 2001. So, as always, I'm not professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I had a pretty good time for the most part, I would say, with this event. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. If you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about each match, and we're going to go match by match. Although, oh, I do have to acknowledge, well, a couple things I have to acknowledge. For starters, I can't believe I went the whole SummerSlam review without acknowledging Drowning Pool, Bodies, I should say, by Drowning Pool as the show's theme song. And and I believe it was a theme of the Alliance, more specifically the ECW side of things for a while, but because of the September 11th attacks, that was ultimately not the case anymore, which I suppose makes sense. And because, it's kind of associated with this very because you're essentially in the wake of this very tragic event, so it makes sense. But But yeah, so I forgot to acknowledge it there. Might do something within the thumbnail though. But the other thing is that shout out to this pay per view poster for Unforgiven and the triple heads of Stone Cold Steve Austin looking absolutely psychotic. Like you have the two like shouting on the one side, and then Austin's face looking very psychotic in the center. If I had to guess, I imagine the other two heads are supposed to be kind of like the ears, like Austin talking in his own ears. Whereas it just is, first of all, it's cool. It's a cool, creepy looking poster, but also it shows kind of the kind of how unhinged Austin has become. He's kind of in his own head, kind of in his own ears. And I think this poster perfectly encapsulates that. It's a poster I want to see somebody do today, like an homage type thing. Like if WWE, I should say, ever brings back the Unforgiven brand, whether on the main roster or in NXT, yeah, bring back have somebody do an homage to the Unforgiven 2001 poster, or oh, if you pay him enough, you might be able to get Austin himself. But yeah, it's a very cool but also very weird poster. But it's weird in all the good ways. But excuse me, getting into the event itself, we did have a match on Sunday Night Heat. We had Billy Gunn defeating Tommy Dreamer. So the WF already starts off the night with a win over the Alliance. But next up, in a four-way elimination match for the tag team championships, the Dudley Boys, that being Bubba Ray and Devon, on defend, and the WF tag team championship against the Big Show and Spike Dudley, the Hurricane and Lance Storm, and the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. But Nigel, you may ask, weren't the tag titles unified? By Undertaker and Kane defeating DDP and Canyon back at SummerSlam. Yeah, for a little bit, but then they were ununified again, and we'll learn a little bit more about that. But we have four teams battling for the tag team titles here, and Spike Dudley, he continues to team with random people. This time is the Big Show, and the Hurricane is here. I forgot the Hurricane gimmick actually started this early. In fact, the Hurricane was around even earlier than that. I forgot Gregory Helms was doing the Hurricane gimmick this early into his WWE slash WF career. But nevertheless, the Hurricane is here, and Jim Ross, which the commentary is once again Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. The commentary talk about how cool it would be if the Hurricane, or Jim Ross should say, talks about how cool it would be if the Hurricane became a superhero for the WF side of things. How it would be cool to have the Hurricane on the side of the WF. And Paul Heyman takes umbrage to that, at saying that he's trying to steal the Hurricane away from the Alliance. And no, just alluding to it. As for this match itself, the match is pretty okay. Hey, nothing too super crazy. Within this match. And nothing. Excuse me, my goodness. Nothing super duper crazy happening within this match. Match. Ultimately, it comes down to the Dudleys and the Hardys. So they kind of got the two. Um, they got the two amalgamated. There it is. The two amalgamated teams. There, that being Storm and Hurricane and Big Show and Spike. As random as a team as Big Show and Spike is, Hurricane and Lance Storm somehow are kind of even more of a random team. But and trust me, I'm not against random teams. I know some people are, but I'm personally not. But it was just kind of weird. But it comes down to the Dudleys and the Hardys. Ultimately, the Dudleys pull some chicanery, and Bubba nails the Bubba bomb on Matt at behind the referee's back, which allows Devon, who is the legal man, to pick up the win over the Hardys. He's not the best outing for either the Hardys or the Dudleys, but it was still okay for the most part. Sorry, I accidentally smacked my mic there. But next up, Perry Saturn takes on Raven. Now, at this point, Raven and abducted Perry Saturn's love interest Moppy, who Perry Saturn left Terry Runnels for, and so they kidnapped Moppy. Raven fed Moppy to the wood chipper. But leading up to that, Perry was looking for Moppy, including putting Moppy on the back of the milk carton, and he's trying to find Moppy. But lo and behold, Moppy was killed at the hands of the wood chipper, and Perry Saturn is very upset about it. And in fact, I forgot to mention this during SummerSlam, but Perry Saturn, we actually see him looking for Moppy at SummerSlam while he's at WWF New York. But as for this match, again, nothing too crazy. They do, which props to the commentary team. They do bring up the history of Perry Saturn and Raven being both being members of the Flock over in WCW, where Raven was the leader of the Flock and Perry was one of his members. In fact, I believe it was, and they do say it on commentary, it was ultimately Perry Saturn who kind of rebelled against the Flock and led to its eventual, and was one of the factors leading to its eventual demise as what was Saturn, but kind of cool that they brought up that it's kind of brought up their history here. The match, like I said, okay, just kind of on the short side. It's only about 5 minutes, just as a little over 5 minutes. Unfortunately, Perry does get a pretty nasty cut around his eye, so that looks kind of gross. But Perry does ultimately get the win over Ray Haven. So Perry gets a measure of revenge on Raven, and in order to excuse me, man, I cannot talk. It's kind of late, but Perry does get a measure of revenge for Moppy on Raven and to an extent Terry Runnels. But next up for the Intercontinental Championship, Edge defends against his own brother Christian. That's right, Christian at this point has turned on Edge. Edge finally getting fed up of Edge getting all the success, all the attention, and Christian's jealousy has finally overtaken him, and he's snapped. He's turned on Edge. Edge saying Edge was jealous of him and that Edge always got all the attention. This is back when they were still being billed as brothers. So Christian has essentially turned on his brother Edge, and is seeking to take his Intercontinental Championship from him. Both Edge and Christian have new theme music for the night, at least in terms of what we're seeing on this pay-per-view. Christian has his first solo theme. I would sing it, but I cannot sing, so I'm not going to. But Edge has Never Gonna Stop by Rob Zombie, which he had, excuse me, for a short amount of time before he got the Alter Bridge theme. And Christian had this theme for a short time as well before he got before he got his before he got Just Close Your Eyes by Waterproof Blonde, on which between the two versions of Just Close Your Eyes is the later version he would use when he returned to WWE was cool, but it's not topping the Waterproof Blonde version. That version is absolutely amazing and definitely fit Christian to a T. As for this match, as for this match, pretty good back and forth. We see the story being told throughout the match as they compete. Ultimately, Christian and does pick up the win and does pick up the Intercontinental Championship over from his brother Edge after he distracts the referee and tries to goad Edge into nailing the one-man concerto, and then Christian low-blowed him with the chair to pick up the win. So Christian becomes Intercontinental Champion. Christian also has a cut around his eye. I get used to hearing cut around the eye because it happens quite a bit on this night, surprisingly. But yeah, so Christian is now Intercontinental Champion, and Edge eventually would get it back, I believe. But Christian has has, I guess, proven himself to his against his brother. But this was the split of Edge and Christian. They wouldn't team again for a while, and it's crazy to think that now in present day 2025, now that both men are not retired and are in AEW and everything, they're kind of back to teaming for the time being. They just faced Kip Sabian and Kill Switch at Forbidden Door. They're about to face FTR at All Out. So, crazy to go back and see. There was a time where they were not on the best of terms, and poor Grandma Edna. But next up for the WCW Tag Team Championship, the match I'm sure most of you have been waiting for, or The Undertaker and Kane, the Brothers of Destruction, battle Chronic. So, Chronic showed up, attacked the Brothers of Destruction. They cost them the WWF Tag Team Championships, although the Brothers of Destruction are still the WCW Tag Team Champions. But Chronic is also now aligned with Steven Richards, mainly because Steven Richards is getting revenge on the Undertaker for being the one to end Right to Censor, which was forced to disband earlier in the year. So, Right to Censor at this point is no more, and Steven Richards and Steven Richards comes out with the Bryans, Adams, and Clark arc of Chronic, and would proceed to essentially steal their theme song later on in his career. Pretty much Steven Richards' theme song is essentially the Chronic theme, just as they changed it's changed some aspects of it. But nevertheless, as this match, here's what I'll say about this match. Is it a good match? No. Is it an abysmal match? I wouldn't say so. Is it even a bad match? Kinda. So this match infamously he made Undertaker and Kane just a tad bit upset to the point where well, actually, I'll explain after the match. Actually, the match itself is kind of dull and kind of lifeless. As Adams and Clark don't really get a whole lot in. It's mostly Undertaker and Kane who don't really sell, which is kind of their thing. But eventually, Undertaker nails the choke slam on, I believe, Brian Clark, in order to retain. But yeah, kind of a bit of a rough watch. But this match resulted in them taking Chronic off TV because Undertaker and Kane were very upset how the match went. Resulted in them taking Chronic off TV to send them to developmental. But Chronic said, "Nope, we don't want to go to developmental." So W was like, "Okay, bye." Hey, and that was it. Chronic was let go from the WWF, which absolutely did kind of suck. That it led to them being released, but at the same time, if the match doesn't go that way or it doesn't go the way it's supposed to, and it's that bad and makes people upset, I don't know, but it is pretty crazy to think about how the match essentially led to Chronic being no more in the WWF. But next up for the Hardcore Championship, Rob Van Dam, who is the Hardcore Champion, defends against Chris Jericho. So Jericho, in a way, kind of similar premise to Jericho versus Rhino in the aspect of RVD is Hardcore Champion, but he's also kind of defending Stephanie's honor. Stephanie has offered to help out RVD take out Jericho, and to essentially shut Jericho up for making fun of her so much. And RVD does kind of resist, saying he's got this, but Stephanie shows up anyway. So what can you do? But this match is very, very fantastic. Like RVD definitely was not missing in 2001. He was absolutely straight hooping in terms of pay-per-view match. This match actually both men's style. Well, at least at the time. was definitely complemented each other. Like both were capable very much of the high flying, with some of the technical wizardry he peppered in by Jericho. One of the few times I can think of where RVD misses the guillotine leg drop on the barricade, but sure enough, Stephanie does distract Jericho with a chair. Or I should say, while Jericho's holding the chair, Stephanie tugs on the chair and tries to prevent Jericho from hitting RVD, and he takes a full-on swing at her, and she ducks, which was like, oh my god, oh, like, holy crap. But sure enough, RVD, he counters with the Van Daminator, and then the 5-star or Frog Splash in order to pick up the win. So, RVD still hardcore champion. Jericho has been defeated, at least for the time being, thanks to Stephanie McMahon. And yeah, just a very awesome, very fun, very, very physical match with some pretty cool fun spots in there. But next up, in a handicap match for the WCW Championship, The Rock defends against both Booker T and Shane McMahon. So, at SummerSlam, The Rock defeated Booker T to win the World Championship, and now to win the WCW World Championship, that is, and now the Alliance wants it back. So, Shane has put together this handicap match against The Rock, where it is Booker T and Shane attempting to take the title from The Rock. Pretty much by any means necessary, the title has to come back to the Alliance. So, that's why both Shane and Booker T are here. Or so whoever pins The Rock becomes the champion, which it obviously the match I'm about to describe wasn't a handicap match, but was a tag team match. But that's literally how. But the stipulation where anyone who is tagged in can pin and win the championship. That's literally how David Arquette won the World Championship, the WCW World Championship. That is his. I don't know if WWF did that on purpose or if it just happened to be coincidence, but very interesting observation, nevertheless. This match was pretty alright as well. I don't think it tops their SummerSlam match, but Shane and Booker both get their stuff in, and The Rock does his thing as well. In terms of this match, Nick Patrick showing a lot of Nick Patrick, of course, is the referee for WCW, showing a lot of favoritism towards Shane McMahon and Booker T, to the point where he ignores blatant and disqualifications, such as when Shane nails The Rock with the world title. Well, I believe it was this match, or it might have been the SummerSlam match, where Shane accidentally nails Booker T with the world title. Oh, and then just does it to The Rock like a few moments later. That might have been SummerSlam, but sure enough, if Mike Chioda shows up and kind of gets into it with Nick Patrick, even pulls Shane out at one point as Nick Patrick's counting, but Earl Hebner shows up to replace Nick Patrick after being taken out by Mike Chioda, and pretty much counts the win for The Rock, who nails the rock bottom on, I believe, Booker T. Yes, nails rock bottom on Booker T to retain the title. It wasn't right after the Spinaroonie this time, but it wasn't too long after. So The Rock still the WCW World Champion, and pretty a good match, pretty solid match. Just preferred the SummerSlam one over it. But next up in your semi-main event, and for the WCW United States Championship, Rhino battles Tajiri. Yeah, so Tajiri and Tori Wilson kind of have a Romeo and Juliet relationship going on. Tori's technically part of the Alliance, but Tajiri's part of the It's part of Team WF. Regal at first advised against it for Tajiri because Rhino injured Tajiri's ribs. But sure enough, Tajiri wants to fight Rhino, so they're going to go out there and battle. Well, and this match is the shortest match. I wish these two got more time, but I think even in the time a lot, they still did relatively well. A cool moment where Rhino chases Tori in the ring, and Rhino's going for a gore on Tori. But Tajiri stops him dead in his tracks with a buzzsaw. Oh, that moment was cool as hell. Oh, but ultimately Rhino does nail the gore on Tajiri in order to pick up the win and win the United States Championship. They kind of give it away, a similar to what happened with Jericho and, ironically enough, Rhino at SummerSlam. They kind of give away Rhino winning by saying that the United States Championship is one of the only titles Rhino hasn't held, and sure enough, Rhino wins it. Although it does lead to a funny line from Paul Heyman saying, I guess the only reason Rhino didn't win the United States Championship because he never challenged for it before, or so. Pretty funny by Paul Heyman. But last certainly not least, in the main event, Kurt Angle once again, and this time in his hometown of Pittsburgh, or because that's where Unforgiven is, his battle Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WF Championship. So, Kurt is still gunning for Austin after having lost by DQ back at SummerSlam, including the famous Milkomania segment, and Austin and taking umbrage to the Alliance being humiliated, so he ties Kurt Angle's gold medals to a brick and launches it into the ocean. And because Kurt Angle didn't beg or cry for them, nope, Kurt just did the next best thing. He attacked Austin with a pipe, stole his truck, tied Austin up, blindfolded him, threatened to throw him into the river, unless he gave him a title match at Unforgiven. And Austin and essentially he begs and pleads and cries not to be thrown in, and gives in to his title match. And then Kurt proceeds to push Austin into a kiddie pool. Oh, he wasn't going to throw him in the river. He had a kiddie pool right there. That admittedly was pretty funny. So these two have been gunning back and forth. They play up even more. They kind of played it up in the SummerSlam match, but they play up even more how Austin's kind of cautious, kind of implying that Austin's afraid of Kurt Angle, afraid of facing Kurt Angle. Like I said, we kind of see it in their SummerSlam match, but they definitely play it up even more for this match, which I guess makes sense because it's the rematch. As for this match, I think unlike the WCW World Championship match, this one I think might top their one at SummerSlam. This one was still really fantastic. A great way to end off the show. You see the physicality from both men. You see how bad both men really want it. And a very good battle back and forth. Or even Austin nailing a pile driver on Angle. Angle even ripping the mat off the floor. But ultimately, as Austin's going for the stunner, which they do steal each other's finishers. Angle does a stunner. His looked kind of weird. Austin does an Angle slam. His looked even weirder. It just looked like a backdrop, but they say it on commentary that it's an Angle slam. So I guess that's what Austin was going for. But ultimately, Kurt Angle gets Austin in the ankle lock, and Austin submits, and Kurt Angle becomes the WWF champion. And so this finish actually genuinely surprised me a little bit, only because I had forgotten Austin lost it to Kurt Angle. I thought Austin held it continuously the whole time throughout the invasion, but no. Apparently, there was a time where Kurt Angle was WWF champion. It would be short-lived. Austin would get it back relatively soon after, and that would lead to a triple threat with Austin, Angle, and RVD at No Mercy, which we will look at next time. But yeah, so Angle is a new WWF champion. Excuse me. His family comes in to celebrate. The locker room, at least the WF locker room, comes in to celebrate. Hey, so now both titles are in the WF camp. At least both world titles. And yeah, definitely a hell of a match. As Austin submitting was pretty cool. The crowd definitely popped when Angle won, so really awesome to see there. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. If I had to pick the strongest and weakest match of the night, the strongest definitely either the Hardcore Championship match or the WF Championship match, similar to SummerSlam. Both were just really, really fantastic. And the weakest match, had you probably saw it coming, and Brothers of Destruction versus Chronic, unfortunately. But you kind of figured going in. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on post notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the match, my review of the match. Do you like the event? I should say the pay-per-view event. It's time for me to go to bed. Did you like my review of Unforgiven? Did you like the Unforgiven show itself? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. It's time for me to go to bed, and I will see you guys later. Peace. Alright. Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel here once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. We're finally doing it after months of waiting and being behind. My apologies, by the way. We are finally finishing up our Alliance reviews and the series as a whole. Now, I know it's been a while, so it's probably old news to a lot of you, but damn it, I said I was going to see it through, and we're going to see it through. But in the meantime, we only have 4 more events to go and then our final analysis, so that'll stretch throughout the week here. But in the meantime, it's time for both members of the WWF and members of the Alliance to show, no remorse, no, respect, like, no reprieve, and no mercy. I'm, of course, talking about No Mercy 2001. But, of course, as always, I am not professional. Not a professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time. And I would say I had a pretty decent time with this event. Fun fact, I have now watched this event 3 times now. The first 2 times were for the purpose of review, of course, but that didn't happen. So I figured we'll watch it one more time so that I can properly be updated, and so I could properly review the actual match, which is so late. Sorry. But nevertheless, we're going to get into it here. Now, of course, as always, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works, even if it has been a little bit since we've done an Alliance review. In fact, I think I am going to put these not just in the wrestling reviews playlist that I have going, but I might give all the Alliance reviews their own playlist. Now, considering I am going to do the compilation style like I've done for several of my other videos, such as you know the such as you know the Batman Arkham one that I just did the other day. If you haven't already, you can check those out. You can check out the full series, or you can check out the compilation, whichever you prefer. But considering that there's a chance I might not give them its own playlist just yet. But I'll think about it. I will contemplate it. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's make some finally, after so long, again, my deepest apologies. Let's finally make some headway. Let's do this. Now, of course, if you see these reviews, I already said that part. Uh, Alright, but or actually, I don't think I finished. So, but if you've seen these reviews of mine before, just in case I didn't, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you know how this works. If you haven't, I'm gonna be talking about what I liked, disliked about the event as a whole, each match and everything, and we're gonna go match by match. So, starting. Well, actually, we have some pre-show matches first, so I better get those out of the way. Pre-show slash Sunday Night Heat. The APA defeated Chris Canyon and Hugh Morris, and then Billy Kidman defeated Sky Tuhati to retain the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. But now moving on to the show proper, the Hardy Boys start off that being Matt and Jeff, accompanied by Lita. They battle against Lance Storm and the Hurricane, who are accompanied by both Ivory and Mighty Molly. The Hardy Boys. He's to my knowledge, I might be wrong. I don't think the Hardy Boys have missed a pay per view yet. They were even there for the UK once, if I'm not mistaken. So, good on them. Meanwhile, of course, Landstorm and the Hurricane, both part of the Alliance. Both teaming together more and more as we're seeing as of late. Heidi Molly, aka the former Molly Holly, he broke up with Spike Dudley, joined the Alliance, and so became the Hurricane's sidekick, that being Mighty Molly. They're going to be, so she's accompanying them in this match here. And of course, alongside Ivory, who comes out with Lance Storm, and then Lita with the Hardy Boys, of course. But nevertheless, as for this match, not a bad match, not a bad way to open the show. Some pretty decent action between these four competitors. They do bring up on commentary how, or like the history and everything between Matt Hardy, or between the Hardy Boys and the Hurricane, aka Gregory Helms, aka Shane Helms. I don't think he became Gregory Helms until he got to WWE. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. If I am, please correct me in the comments. But nevertheless, as they bring up the history between all three of them, especially them growing up in North Carolina. They were very close growing up, and they do. So they bring up that history, and then they also kind of in the way put over Landstorm as well. Landstorm. Not quite. You would think he'd be a lot more on fire in a lot of ways, is versus what he was doing in WCW, where he was the man for quite a bit and got a lot of traction. But such is the Alliance / the Invasion storyline. Not the first time you'll hear me say that, and won't be the last. But nevertheless, still pretty decent action between both sides. Ultimately, the Hardy Boys do pick up the win, and things do get a little chaotic towards the end, especially when the managers get involved. Oh, Mighty Molly and Ivory try getting involved, and of course Paul Heyman says nothing. And of course the commentary team is once again Jim Ross and Paul Heyman. But then when Lita gets involved, and then when Matt and Jeff are kind of doing, I don't want to say cheating necessarily, but Jeff does hit the swanton, but Matt is still the legal man. Then Paul Heyman complains. I mean, heel commentators got a heel commentator, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, in a way. But nevertheless, the Hardy Boys do pick up the win. But next up, in singles action, Test, who is part of the Alliance, battles the Big Red Machine, Kane. And actually, I will say to kind of bring up my point here, Test does beat Kane here. Pretty decent back and forth. Of course, I will say if the storyline was Stephanie McMahon and be like Tess being Stephanie McMahon's boyfriend, which then and then her fiance, which then led to Triple H marrying her in the drive-through wedding, which then led to McMahon Helmsley regime. If that was Tess' biggest like storyline, or where he got his biggest push, I would say, then his time here in the Alliance might be a close second. And because Tess picking up the win over Kane, and actually a pretty decent back and forth. There is some referee chicanery here. The referee is Nick Patrick, so it's to be expected. But ultimately, Tess nails Kane with the ring bell straight in front of the referee, and Nick Patrick does nothing, and Jim Ross totally rips him for it, and rightfully so. Then when Kane goes to hit the chair, then all of a sudden Nick Patrick decides, nope, oh, you are not to use that chair. Here, so Kane kind of gets in his grill. He'll goes to chokeslam him and Test at the same time, so he has a double chokeslam spot. Throws Nick Patrick down, but that does give Test the opening to hit the low blow and then hit the big boot for the win. Test is probably, unless you count like Drew McIntyre's Claymore, Test might be the only person I can think of who actually made the big boot an actual finisher. And to his credit, he has a solid big boot. But her or I guess you could also count like the bro kick, like Sheamus's bro kick, or Matt Morgan's carbon footprint. And me personally, I don't know it. Oh, admittedly, that's kind of a can of worms. I don't feel like opening right now. But what Kane does open is a can of whoop ass all over Nick Patrick. So he grabs him, hits him with two choke slams. And the funniest thing is, he hits Nick Patrick with the one choke slam and goes to leave, thinks about it, goes in, hits Nick Patrick with another choke slam, and leaves, thinks about it again, and then nails Nick Patrick finally with a power bomb, and then spews up the fire and everything. So Kane does, in a way, kind of get screwed over by Nick Patrick, but he does get his comeuppance in the end, at least. But next up, in a lingerie match, Tori Wilson takes on Stacy Keibler. Now, Tori Wilson was part of the alliance alongside Stacy Keibler, both being brought over from WCW and everything. But ultimately, because of Tori's relationship with Tajiri, is she kind of is kicked out of the alliance slash kind of distances herself from the alliance, and so it kind of leads to her and Stacy Keibler going at it. It's and there was a bikini contest between the two, because of course there was on I want to say SmackDown. I don't know if I see. Uh, yeah, on the October 4th episode of SmackDown and I guess this is the rematch, the lingerie match between the two. Now, Stacy does have like the silk robe, and there is a funny moment where she shows what's underneath the robe to Matt Hardy, and Matt likes what he see. Matt indeed is woken. I'm sorry, that was terrible. But yeah, so the ladies are going to compete in a lingerie match just for her Tori Wilson to still be more scantily clad than Stacy Keibler. Now, look. Let me preface this portion of the review by saying I am not a prude. You know, I can very much acknowledge that these are two very beautiful, attractive women. Dare I say, that's kind of why they're here in the first place doing this. Is I will acknowledge they're both very attractive, and there is that male instinct side of me that in a way does kind of like what he sees. But then there's the other part of me that's like, damn, that was really what women's wrestling was like at the time. I've said it before, I'll say it again. And women's wrestling still has a long way to go, but they have still come such a long way from stuff like this. But nevertheless, this which I think, yeah, not counting the pre-show, is the shortest match of the night. Is kind of just a glorified cat fight, not a whole lot goes on. They do the steamroller spots. Tori, he does get the win and over Stacy Keibler. By performing a handspring elbow, I should say, of all things, I should say, hey, Ala Tajiri, her boyfriend on screen, to pick up the win over Stacy Keibler, or not a lot of sizzle on the steak. Again, like I said, no prude, who'd very, two very attractive women, obviously in lingerie. That's gonna get me every time. And Stacy, and Stacy Keibler is worth mentioning. She does start off wrestling in the rowboat before she eventually takes it off and reveals the lingerie underneath. Um, but like I said, I'm no prude, but my goodness. But I think the funniest part is like Paul Heyman and Jim Ross just going kind of gaga on commentary over it, and then Jim Ross calling Paul Heyman out on it and on him enjoying the show, which is kind of hypocritical. And then Paul Heyman just straight up owning it. And Jim Ross is like, "Yeah, you're enjoying this a whole lot," and Paul Heyman's like, and Paul Heyman, and I'm paraphrasing, but Paul Heyman's pretty much like, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so that is that's that, I suppose. But now on to the next part in a ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. If Christian can defends the Intercontinental Championship against his former tag team partner and brother, at least at the time, Edge. Yes, as of course, at this time, Edge and Christian were billed as blood brothers. So at Unforgiven, Christian defeated Edge to pick up the win and become the new Intercontinental Champion. And however, at this point, it was more so just a personal rivalry between the two, who with Christian taking the Intercontinental Championship off of Edge and them kind of going back and forth, but they're still brothers and they still care about each other very much. That is until Christian officially, I guess, in a way, turns on Edge and joins up with the Alliance. There's a segment where Christian fakes a phone call, which is kind of weird. So, how it plays out, and they show this in the hype packages, like Edge gets a phone call saying that their mother was in a car accident. So he frankly gets Christian like, "Hey, mom's been in a car accident, and there was an accident." And so Christian's freaking out, saying like, "Why didn't they call me?" And then the Alliance wrestlers try to stop them, and him and Edge tries to push past him, and then Christian attacks them, says the real accident is you being born 27 years ago. Edge is only 27 here? Damn. So Christian attacks them. It was all attacks Edge, I should say. So it was all a ruse, which is pretty crazy. He I get it to really like twist the dagger into his brother, but yeah, Christian, you probably could have found an easier way to get to lure Edge into getting attacked by the Alliance superstars. But nevertheless, Christian is now joining the Alliance. So because of that, heel commentators got a heel now. Paul Heyman is totally singing the virtues of Christian. But will Christian be able to successfully defend his Intercontinental Championship against Edge? Well, no, but it was still a really good match. Of course, they put over how these two really masters of the ladder match. The triangle of things with the Hardys, the Dudleys, and Edge and Christian. Chairs were more Edge and Christian's thing. The ladders that went to the Hardys, and then obviously the tables went to the Dudleys. But they do put over how many ladder matches they've been in, which does make sense, and really good back and forth. A lot of really fun action between the two. Just it's absolutely beating the crap out of each other. It feels personal, even when Edge is coming down. Christian meets him on the ramp, and Edge, I believe it was Edge who nailed a spear off the lat nailed a spear off the ladder, her if I'm not mistaken, and oh no, it was a diving splash across the ladder, her and as a diving spear as well. So they did both. Eventually, Edge gets Christian back for low blowing him with the chair by low blowing Christian with a chair of his own, and then on top of the ladder, Edge nails the one man concerto onto Christian and pushes him off and uses that to become the new Intercontinental Champion. So Edge is once again Intercontinental Champion. Really fun match. But next up on the card are the Dudley Boys. Speak of the devil, the Dudley Boy, he's Bubba Ray and Devon, defend the WWF Tag Team Championships against Big Show and Tajiri. Of course, Tajiri still having his problems with the Alliance. Doubly so now that William Regal has officially defected over to the Alliance. In fact, I'll get to that in a little bit. His defection, but now Tajiri has found himself a partner in the Big Show to battle for the tag team championships here. And the Dudley Boys, I believe the Dudley Boys have also been on every pay per view, which is also very impressive. And they've won most of their pay per views. I don't think they've lost a pay per view yet so far this year. Here, in fact, because I remember how the rest of the. How the rest of the year plays out, that being in terms of Rebellion, Survivor Series, and Vengeance. And damn, the Dudley Boys do not lose a pay-per-view match that I can remember in this time. If I'm wrong about that head, then please correct me in the comments. I'll probably go back and check. In fact, it's worth probably going back and check. I should probably do that real quick before I say for certain. But yeah, so that's Unforgiven. Yeah, Dudley Boys won the four-way elimination tag at Unforgiven. Now for SummerSlam, let's see. Dudley Boys. Yep, Dudley Boys beat APA and Spike. Then Invasion. Let's see. I don't see the. Yep, they were on Team WCW, ECW. That's when Austin defected towards the Alliance. And here at King of the Ring, Dudley Boys beat Spike Dudley. Yeah, so the Dudley Boys, he's technically, um, in terms of this stretch from Backlash to but from Backlash uh he to here or for the rest of the year. Oh, okay, they are uh uh oh, okay. Hey, so the Dudley Boys. Okay, hey, so I was wrong. Dudley Boys are not undefeated. They lost in the tag team turmoil match at uh at Judgment Day. So, I was wrong about that. So my apologies. But still, Dudley Boys winning most of their matches. That's pretty impressive. So hell of a year for the Dudleys. But nevertheless, they're battling Big Show and Tajiri. Not a bad match and pretty decent action. The story is that the Dudleys really don't want Big Show in the match. That's because Big Show is a game changer. Of course, he's a giant. He's big. He's one big SOB. Wait, that's Braun Strowman's catchphrase. Never mind. But and Big Show is very big. Paul Heyman literally says in the commentary, "Why can't Big Show pick on somebody his own size?" And then and JR said, "Because there is nobody Big Show size. I can't wait for somebody to come along who's Big Show size." And he'll get his and JR will get his wish with Greg Holly in about 5 years or so. But and actually, I think it took a little longer than that for. Oh no, they did cross paths because they did have the little alliance for Great American Bash 2006. But nevertheless, so oh, but pretty alright action, especially from Tajiri and of course the Dudley Boy. He's doing what they do. Who things do kind of break down a little bit. It's towards the end, and when Tajiri hits the mist on the referee, who is temporarily incapacitated. Big Show comes in and he chokes. Now this is kind of a weird, kind of goofy moment. Big Show choke slams, I believe, Devon on and then tries to pin him, but the referee is yeah, so Big Show, he'll pin, choke slams Devon goes to pin him, but, the referee is still incapacitated because he got the mist in his eyes, but also B, even if he wasn't incapacitated, Big Show wasn't the legal man. Tajiri is, Big Show didn't officially tag in, the ref wasn't there to see it, and there is like a false tag spot between Tajiri and Big Show in the match, but then in comes Rhino, who nails Big Show with a gore to take him out. Oh, and then Tajiri tries fighting back, heck, even more, but then is hit with the 3D by the Dudley Boys in order for them to score the win. So the Dudley Boys retain, excuse me, the tag team championships there. Pretty decent match. But next up, the Undertaker from the WWF takes on Booker T from the Alliance. Booker T has called out the Undertaker, which is a very bold strategy. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off for him. But it's been years since I've seen Dodgeball, but the movie Dodgeball, that is. But yeah, so Booker T has called out The Undertaker, and so, they're going to have this match here. Booker T, he, very bold, to call out the dead man. And, Booker T doesn't even wait for, like, Undertaker just gets off his bike, and then Booker T is right off to the races. So, oh, so pretty hot start between the two, no pun intended to Booker T's, fire pyro and everything. But pretty alright action, pretty decent action between the two. Who Jim Ross does bring up how both of them are Texas boys, but pretty alright action. Booker T even gets a spinning Rooney in, and it's not immediately followed up with a move. He even gets a scissors kick on the Undertaker, but ultimately, the Undertaker does pick up the win over Booker T with the last ride because, of course, but yeah, so pretty decent action between the two. But next up in the semi-main event for the WCW World Championship, The Rock defends against Chris Jericho. Now, The Rock and Chris Jericho are technically on the same side. They're both on Team WF. If you may be wondering why Team WF, both why two members of the WF are fighting over the WCW World Championship. And my response to that is stop asking questions. But they have been having issues with each other. Um, they've been really going back and forth in the way they kind of always have. Even when Jericho first showed up, he had his barbs and his jabs with The Rock. Jericho being one of the few people on the mic who could actually match up with The Rock. But they've been going back and forth, especially as of late. And so, it's come down to who battle each other for the World Championship. This match. That's very fun, very good action between the two. Who you'll be hard pressed to find a bad Jericho match around this time at least. He's and The Rock is pretty fun able to do it. He does Rock locks in sharpshooter because of course he does. And then during the match, Stephanie McMahon shows up. She slides in the chair for The Rock to use because she famously does not like Jericho. Jericho said some not so nice things about Stephanie. The Rock thanks her by nailing her with the Rock bottom. And then Jericho. First. Jericho does nail rock bottom of his own to the Rock, but that's earlier in the match, and then he follows up with the Lionsault. But then after the chair is brought in, then Jericho, which apparently this was around when he first debuted the move, the breakdown, and onto the chair for the Rock. It's pretty much like the Miz's skull crushing finale. So I imagine uh, once the Miz started using the skull crushing finale as a finisher, they pretty much wanted you to forget Jericho had this move, the breakdown first. And to be honest, it's all right. I think it fits the Miz a lot more. I'm glad Jericho still has some kind of impact finisher, that being the code breaker. But yeah, so Jericho nails the breakdown on the chair in order to pick up the win and become the WCW World Champion. So Stephanie McMahon inadvertently helps her nemesis Chris Jericho. Afterwards, The Rock kind of confronts Jericho. He holds up the chair, the smoking gun, and just hands the chair to Jericho and lets him celebrate in the ring. And I believe they shake hands. Well, or no, he just hands the chair to Jericho. Oh, pretty much Rock saying, "I know what you did last summer. I'm sorry I had to." But yeah, so Jericho picks up the win as the new WCW World Champion, and so yeah, pretty solid match, pretty fun match actually between the two. But finally, in the main event and triple threat action for the WWF Championship, if the leader of the Alliance, Stone Cold Steve Austin, defends against Kurt Angle and Rob Van Dam. That's right, two Alliance members going at it. So Kurt Angle did beat Austin at Unforgiven and to become WF champion, but was ultimately cost the championship, and it was dropped back to Austin after William Regal turned on the WF and joined up with the Alliance. He fully defected to the Alliance, so now Austin is champion once again. But there's some infighting between Austin and Rob Van Dam and kind of the other members of the Alliance, as Austin's kind of showing some tough love. And the Fires are stoked even more with her by Vince, and it's giving RVD a ride in the limo. Oh, really sowing the seeds of dissension among the Alliance. But nevertheless, RBD now says he's looking out for himself. He does prove his loyalty at first to the Alliance by hitting a frog splash on Kurt Angle, but then as we get closer to No Mercy, then he hits a frog splash on Austin. So whose side is he on? And pretty funny part, and this was first brought to attention that I remember from Wrestling Regret when he reviewed No Mercy 2001 a couple years ago, how Kurt Angle has a championship in like the hype package. He's holding the championship, and then it pops out a frame. They like zoom it out, and then it's popped out. He's like, where'd it go? Oh man, I'm not the champion anymore. Where the title from? Oh, it's so hokey, but it's so funny. But nevertheless, as for this match, pretty great, pretty solid action, I would say, between these three. I think these three really really worked well with each other, and the stories told throughout of RVD really coming into his own, really going after Austin and Angle, but especially it's mainly Angle going against Austin and also going against RVD as well, to try and become champion again. And so there's no real friends. And I think having that kind of dissension, and I think worked well in the story and kind of show and kind of made for an interesting dynamic where it's not just a glorified handicap. There actually is actual tension between Angle and Austin, and so that aspect was pretty good. Vince McMahon, who did show up earlier in the night saying he was going to make an impact, he sure enough shows up, and sure enough, tells Kurt Angle to get in the ring. Even nails Austin with a chair as he's about to pick up the win, and it does bust Austin open in the back of the head, so he's bleeding in the back of the head. And I don't think it was quite as bad as when it happened to John Moxley earlier this year, but it was still pretty nasty. But Austin is bleeding. Then and Shane McMahon shows up as Kurt Angle's about to get the win, and Shane shows up, attacks Angle, then Vince straight up just tackles his son over the announce table, which was pretty funny, and then Stone Cold uses that opportunity to nail the stunner on Rob Van Dam on his own guy, hey, in order to pick up the win and retain the championship. So Vince has tried to screw Austin out of the title, but unintentionally he keeps the championship, the WF championship, within the Alliance camp. Admittedly, with Austin and RVD being the only two left in the ring, Kurt Angle is already taken out by this point. I would stay in the Alliance camp either way, but now Austin is still the champion. So McMahon's plan unfortunately backfired, but like I said, still really, really great match. So that is going to do it for this event. If I had to pick the strongest and weakest matches of the night for me, the strongest definitely, I would definitely give it to either the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship or the last two, who that being Jericho versus Rock and the Triple Threat. Both were, all three of those nominations were pretty good matches. The weakest, the lingerie match. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this review. Just a few more to go, but we're almost there. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on those social notifications so you know every time I upload a video, so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on No Mercy 2001 as well as my review? Did you like this event? Did you like my review of this event? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys later. Peace. Alright, hello citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. Yet another late night upload. I admittedly have got to work on that. But we will. I'll try to upload tomorrow as early as I can. And or at least earlier than this. As I've made it known previously on the channel, I don't like uploading late, but if I want to keep that daily upload promise that I made for the month of December, I gotta make some sacrifices. But I will try to work on that in the for the next few uploads. I'll try to upload earlier. Only thing was, A, I didn't finish the pay-per-view till kind of late, and B, I was cooking dinner. But but I'll try to watch the pay per view for tomorrow. Oh, that being Survivor Series a little bit earlier, and I'll have leftovers when it comes to dinner. But nevertheless, never mind that. We at the WF is heading back to the UK. This time firmly within the Alliance storyline. Remember, previously at Insurrection, we were kind of just in the primordial stages, but we weren't full Alliance invasion storyline yet. But this time we are full in. And so, what happens when we see not only WF and Alliance superstars going head to head, but even a WrestleMania 17 rematch? Let's find out. I'm, of course, talking about Rebellion 2001, which uses and I think it was the same for Insurrection. Uses the base, at least for the Luke Gallows theme that he would have about almost a decade later. Or, but in the meantime, of course, as always, I am not professional wrestling reviewer or analyst or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time, and I had a pretty alright time with this show. Kind of similar to Insurrection. This is pretty much like a glorified house show. Not a whole lot when it comes to storyline progression. And if you remember, or Insurrection, and not a whole lot in terms of progression happened there. It kind of just felt like it was leading towards the next event and kind of piggybacking off the previous event. But in the case of Rebellion here, there is some stuff that's kind of in the fallout from No Mercy, and they're but also they're very much building towards Survivor Series. They're talking about the winner take all match that's going to happen at Survivor Series, so they're warming up for that. Speaking of which, I did not talk about. There's something I forgot to talk about yesterday in my No Mercy review, so. I'll mention it here. Kind of the reason why I did the whole Diana Ross RVD thumbnail is because as No Mercy really felt like a big coming out in a way for RVD, not in the other way that I'm sure a lot of you are thinking of and might make jokes of, but in a way where RVD got a lot of traction and really had a lot of eyes on him as he was challenging for the WWF Championship. He was already very popular within the Alliance and even more so carrying over from ECW. But in terms of WWE, it really felt like a big moment for him in that spotlight. This would be really as super close as he would get to the title up until 2006. That being at the previous event, No Mercy. It would be as close as he really got until he actually won the WWE Championship in 2006 at One Night Stand 2006, which I reviewed a little while ago, a couple of years ago. If you haven't already, go check out that review. But yeah, RVD, yeah, big coming out. That's why I put that particular one because the Diana Ross song, the I'm coming out, she wanted the world to know, and she had to let it show. Is on that album, at least if I'm not mistaken. At least that's kind of what it falls under on Spotify. Speaking of let me know your guys' Spotify ages. Mine is apparently, I think it was 62, if I'm not mistaken, and which is quite old. I am nowhere near 62, as you can tell, but yeah, uh, uh, but I just wanted to bring that up because I surprisingly forgot to mention it yesterday. But as for this event, let's get right into it. If you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know this works. You have an idea at least of how this works. If you haven't, I'm gonna be talking about what I liked and disliked about each match. We're gonna go match by match. And like I said, and canon wise, the show not really too much. There is some stuff, but definitely more house show vibes, which hey, I guess has put on a show for the UK folk. But first up, I should say, and I guess this is part of that technically storyline. And Edge defends the Intercontinental Championship against his brother Christian, and in a steel cage. Christian beat Edge for the Intercontinental Championship back at Unforgiven. Edge won it back at No Mercy, and now this is essentially the rubber match, I guess. As Technically the rubber match, because both men have one win apiece. So who's gonna get the ultimate win in this match? And it turns out to be Edge. Edge actually picks up the win, and here and a pretty solid match between the two. Who Christian does get his leg stuck in between the rope and the cage. He's kind of hanging upside down. Meanwhile, Edge just kind of climbs out while Christian's left hanging there. Edge essentially survives. Pretty decent back and forth between the two. They have pretty decent chemistry. And adding the steel cage stipulation and really help freshen things up. Although there's still some argument between JR and Paul Heyman. Yes, Paul Heyman is there in the UK this time. Remember, he wasn't at Insurrection; it was Michael Cole instead. But it's not as egregious as during the ladder match in No Mercy. But it's still somewhat present. But nevertheless, has Edge definitively, I guess, ends that chapter and picks up the definitive win over his brother Christian and retains the Intercontinental Championship. So congrats to Edge, I suppose. But next up, Scotty 2 Hottie. He goes against the Hurricane. And and this match again, pretty all right. Nothing super special, nothing too crazy, but still a pretty decent match. Scotty, he ends up getting the win with the worm. And sorry, because it's so late, I'm gonna kind of go through these somewhat quickly. With the exception of like the much bigger matches is on the card, but Noah Scotty actually gets the worm on Hurricane and picks up the win. And now, maybe it's because I haven't seen too many Scotty 2 Hottie matches, as I actually haven't reviewed too many on the channel that I remember. But not often that you saw or that I can think of Scotty actually getting the worm and the win. And I felt like he nailed the worm, but then lost afterwards. But this time he nails the worm on the Hurricane and manages to pick up the win. So hey, props to Scotty. But next up, Big Show takes on Diamond Dallas Page. Now, Diamond Dallas Page at this point, he's not doing the whole stalker gimmick anymore against The Undertaker. That gimmick pretty much died at SummerSlam. And instead, now he's doing kind of the yoga gimmick, where, or kind of the in a way kind of the like self-help guru who in a way a kind of the motivational speaker thing and that he would kind of wind up doing as part of DDP yoga and involved him where he would kind of preach in a way. It's not like brother love type like preaching or anything, but kind of do like the inspirational messages. He would smile like and then like wink at the camera and make very weird facial movements. Apparently, the reason he was doing that is because he thought they would add sound effects and like the sparkle effect, like when he did the movements, just for them to do none of that. Ooh, but you still kept doing it even when they didn't add even when they didn't add the effects, yet you still kept doing the smile and everything. And it does look pretty weird. If I remember, I'll put a photo on the screen, what I'm talking about, so I can haunt your guys' nightmares as well. Oh, but DDP he talks to the UK crowd kind of rags on them, and he also comes up, of course, with the catchphrase. He's talking about how that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. And I forget exactly what he said, but then he battles against the Big Show here. It's essentially a glorified squash. And Big Show takes out DDP and finishes him off relatively quickly. Crazy to think how their match in WCW got more built when DDP took on the Giants, and it's I don't want to butcher the event, so I'm not going to. But afterwards, DDP says, "I'm glad that it's a good thing that I lost, so I can finally get out of this country." he so even in defeat, DDP manages to stay funny in a way. He kind of keep his head up in a way. But it would eventually kind of morph into a face gimmick, but here it's still very much kind of a heel gimmick. Ah, poor DDP. It's crazy to think they passed up on People's Champion versus People's Champion Rock versus DDP for this essentially. But such is life. But next up in triple threat action for the WCW Tag Team Championships, the Dudley Boys defend against both the APA, that being Farouk and Bradshaw, and the Dudley Boys, of course, being Bubba Ray and Devon, and the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. Lita will also be in action later on tonight. Right, and kind of continuing the battles for the tag team championships that were happening very much throughout the year. His time Hardys and APA challenging against the Dudley Boys, and APA is the first to go. And this match pretty fun. And I think all six guys did really well. And played their roles pretty well. But ultimately, the Dudley Boys getting up to their tactics, eventually getting the win over the Hardy. He's like I said, at had APA eliminated first then they get the win after Jeff misses a swanton, and then the Dudley, he's nailed the 3D on Matt, who's the legal man, so they pick up the win. So the Dudley Boys retain the tag team championships, the WCW tag team championships, that is. But next up in singles action, William Regal battles Tajiri. Now, Tajiri, he was William Regal's kind of friend slash protege, even though apparently they hated each other in real life. But since Regal has joined the alliance, he and Tajiri are now at odds and are now going against each other. And William Regal's got a new theme music. Now this particular her theme music, First of all, I didn't hear. I had never heard this version of his theme song until doing these reviews for the invasion storyline. But the other thing is that this theme, something about like the music and everything, it kind of sounds like, well, it sounds like the theme he'd have later in his career, the theme we probably know and that we're probably a lot more familiar with later in his career. But it also kind of sounds like the Undertaker's theme, and more specifically, the one Undertaker would have when he went back to the Dead Man gimmick, aka the one he's had ever since that we all know him for now. So it kind of sounds like it kind of sounds like those two themes kind of did like a fusion dance and kind of combined. I don't hate it though; it's pretty cool. But yeah, as for this match, pretty decent action between the two, who a bit on the short side, ultimately Regal make Tajiri submit in the Regal stretch, and so Regal picks up the win, and then of course attacks Tajiri afterwards because heel's got to heal. But next up for the WCW Championship, Chris Jericho defends against Kurt Angle. Now, at this point in time, Kurt Angle has joined the alliance, and Shane McMahon kind of playing his own mind games after Vince played some mind games with RVD and everything. Shane saying that a member of Team WF will join the alliance, and that turned out to be Kurt Angle. So Kurt Angle is now a part of the alliance. Earlier in the show, they're doing like a segment. It's Angle, Austin, Deborah, Shane, and I believe Stephanie's there. But I could be wrong. And Kurt Angle's talking about the Knights of the Round Table, and Austin pretty much rips into him for that. But because they're in England, of course. But so yeah, Kurt Angle is now a part of the alliance. If the Austin turn to the Alliance didn't make any sense, Kurt Angle somehow made even less sense, considering one of the sides of the Alliance, that being ECW, who was the very company that almost caused Kurt Angle to not join the pro wrestling industry. He Yeah, I kind of mentioned it beforehand, but pretty much to kind of summarize, Kurt Angle was at ECW High Incident, I believe, in 1996, and Raven was battling the Sandman, and Raven beat Sandman, then strung Sandman up in a position in like the crucifix position and with his arms out, and then put a barbed wire crown on his head. Sound familiar? So Kurt was very offended and said he didn't want to join the pro wrestling business. But thankfully, eventually he changed his mind, and the rest is history. Maybe that's why Raven got buried in WWE, because he almost cost us Kurt Angle. Maybe it was justified. As for this match, really, really solid action between the two. These two are able to put on a great match. Able to put on a great match as well against each other, or just some pretty fun back and forth action. Ultimately, Jericho oh, uh, does get the win after he rolls up Kurt Angle, which is pretty interesting. And so I guess even back then the roll up was a very devastating move, but Angle does get the last laugh as he nails Jericho with two Angle slams. But yeah, a really fun match between the two. But next up in, I guess technically the semi-main event, and Lita and Tori Wilson and go against Mighty Molly and Stacy Keibler are in tag team action. Of course, Lita and Tori Wilson being from the WF, Mighty Molly and Stacy Keibler being a part of the alliance. And there is a running thread throughout the show, excuse me, of Chavo Guerrero and Hugh Morris. At first they fight over who's going to interview the women, and then Chavo's like, screw it, let's just both interview them. Surprisingly, no mention of their time together in Misfits in Action and in WCW, but I highly doubt Vince cared. But nevertheless, so there's a funny thread of them just kind of barging into the ladies' locker room, walking in on, first it was Trish changing, then it was Lita changing, then it was Mighty Molly without her cape, but she makes it seem like she was changing, because that was part of the gag. Admittedly, that was kind of dumb, but also kind of funny. I guess it kind of leads to this match. Not a whole lot going on, but Lita and Tori do who pick up the win, and it's also worth mentioning Trish Stratus is a special guest referee, and they do kind of gawk over her in the referee uniform. But afterward, Stacy Keibler does attack Trish, and so Trish slaps her and then nails the bulldog. And it's funny that Paul like rips into her afterwards, because that was pretty funny. But next up in the main event, rematch from WrestleMania 17, as Stone Cold Steve Austin defends the WF Championship against The Rock. Now, you knew it was probably going to happen, especially now that The Rock was back. I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier. I'm also surprised that they saved it for Rebellion, and you would think it would happen at a main, I guess, major pay-per-view, but hey, gotta give the people, oh, excuse me, gotta give the people their money's worth. So they're battling for the championship here. It's also worth mentioning Rock and Jericho have still been having their issues. There was a segment earlier in the night where Vince told them to squash it and shake hands. They do, just for Jericho to immediately taunt Rock, saying, "Don't lose this, don't lose the big one this time," and then Rock and Jericho get to scrapping afterwards because naturally. But nevertheless, as for this match here, this match pretty all right, pretty fun for the most part. Uh, and nowhere near their match at WrestleMania 17, but didn't expect it to be. Of course, there is a sharpshooter from the Raw during the match, which Austin does tap out. This is after the referee's down. There is a ref bump. Then Austin locks in a sharpshooter of his own on a slightly better, I guess, sharpshooter, but that's really not saying much, especially because Austin almost immediately gives up and kind of just stands up in it to where it's, I guess, leave the sharpshooting to the professionals. But as the referee is down, Angle shows up to help out Austin. Then Jericho shows up to help out The Rock. Kurt does hit Rock with the chair, and Jericho wrestles the chair away. But Rock sees he's Jericho with the chair and thinks, "Oh, he hit me with the chair again." And kind of similar to what happened at No Mercy. He womp womp. So well, they come to blows. Eventually, Kurt does nail The Rock with the title belt. After Rock was going for People's Elbow, Angle trips him up, hits the title belt. Austin gets the stunner, picks up the win, and retains. So Austin essentially escapes with the championship yet again, and to end off the show. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this review. Like I said, I know I kind of breezed through these, but A, like I said, very much house show, and B, it's already pretty late. So if I had to pick the strongest and weakest matches of the show for this card, the strongest is the two. I think definitely the two World Championship matches. Jericho and Angle for their in ring work, and then Stone Cold and The Rock for kind of the spectacle of it all and like the very much the story told throughout and all the moving parts. As for the weakest, probably Big Show versus DDP. But nevertheless, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload a video so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on Rebellion and your thoughts on my review of Rebellion. Do you like the show? Do you like my review of the show? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Peace. And hopefully I didn't forget anything this time. Right. Hello, citizens of the Nigelverse. It is Nigel once again, and this is going to be another wrestling review. After months of fighting between the WWF and the Alliance, this is it. For all the marbles, for control of the company, one legacy will live on, the other will die. Which one will it be? As winner takes all. Let's find out. Spoiler alert, it's not called WCW ECW Survivor Series, is it? I'm, of course, talking about WWF Survivor Series from 2001. So, of course, as always, I'm not professional. Great, I already messed up. I am not professional, not a Jesus, I cannot talk today. I am not professional wrestling reviewer, analyst, or anything like that. Just a man who enjoys a good time. There we go. Oh, and I had a pretty decent time, I would say, watching the show. There is quite a bit going and there's definitely the overall story of the winner takes all aspect, the finality of it all is built throughout the show. So let's get right into it and see who indeed took all. Now, of course, if you've seen these reviews of mine before, you kind of already know how this works. You have an idea at least of how this works. However, if you haven't, I'm going to be talking about what I liked and disliked about each match, going match by match. But even starting from the hype package, it's very much around WF versus the Alliance, and everything that had been going on up to this point. Excuse me, and the whole WF versus Alliance side of things is dialed up to 11 for this show because this is technically the finale. Now, oh yes, it's worth mentioning. Although I am going to review Vengeance 2001, I'm going to review that tomorrow. This technically is the final pay-per-view of the Alliance storyline, and in fact, this is essentially the end of the Alliance/Invasion storyline. So, if you wanted to watch just the invasion on its own, technically you would go from, I would say, a invasion all the way to Survivor Series. But I decided to look at the other stuff, like, and I mentioned this way back when I started doing the reviews for the invasion storyline several months ago. But I mentioned that I would also throw in some of the other kind of pay-per-views surrounding it. So with that being Backlash, Insurrection, Judgment Day, King of the Ring, all because it kind of plants the breadcrumbs up until the Invasion storyline. In fact, Booker T shows up at King of the Ring. But if you want to look at the Alliance storyline, and it's the Alliance slash Invasion storyline on its own within the bubble, you would technically watch Invasion through Survivor Series. In fact, I'm thinking, hey, I'm definitely going to do a compilation of all the reviews we've done for the Invasion storyline. So I'm gonna throw in Backlash all the way through Vengeance of 2001, but I might do a separate compilation of just the Invasion related stuff. So that being the Invasion pay per view, then SummerSlam, and then Unforgiven, No Mercy, Rebellion, and then Survivor Series. He's now I'm not quite sure if I am going to do that just yet, but uh, uh, I am contemplating it. But if you guys do want me to do that, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But also it's worth mentioning a very symbolic location where we are. I feel like I haven't talked about the locations enough of where we are in terms of these events, and because this time we're in Greensboro, a venue with a lot of wrestling history, especially within WCW. So, it'll be good. So it's a great, essentially a beautiful hill to die on for WCW slash ECW. But admittedly, that was probably a foregone conclusion, and especially up to this point. But let's now get into the show proper. Right off the bat, we did have a six-man tag on Heat as Just Incredible, Landstorm, and Raven of the Alliance defeated Albert, Scotty 2 Hotty, and Spike Dudley. A number of these people would still show up in the Immunity Battle Royal, so great. Hey, I guess essentially pulling double duty. In fact, I think Lance Storm, Raven, just incredible. Spike Dudley, Albert. Uh, well, almost all the people in the match on Heat would wind up in the immediate battle royal, and you'll see what I mean when I get to that. The other thing worth mentioning, for starters, there was supposed to be a title unification match. There's a lot of title unification matches on the show. One of them being that the Cruiserweight Championship was supposed to be combined with the Light Heavyweight Championship, which is pretty fitting considering the Light Heavyweight Championship essentially was born out of spite of the Cruiserweight Championship in a way, because the story goes that WCW had the Cruiserweight division. It was fantastic, so WWE was like, hey, we can do that too. And they proved that they couldn't. They couldn't quite. But X-Pac was injured, so instead of them getting that unification match, the light heavyweight title would slowly kind of just be phased out of existence. So that was the end of the light heavyweight title. So it was supposed to be Tajiri battling X-Pac in unification, but instead Tajiri will be facing William Regal later on in the show. Now, it's also worth mentioning some of these in some aspects kind of carried over from Rebellion, and I guess that kind of makes sense because Rebellion was kind of more of a house show. And it kind of like it gave the UK fans and something, but it also kind of bridged the gap between No Mercy and Survivor Series here. So some of the matches do repeat on the show, but
the other thing is this match was made on Heat, which is the opening match. Now we're actually getting into the pay per view card after a glorious 8 minutes of stalling. But now we're getting into the show proper. As for the European Championship, Christian defends, and Christian of the Alliance defends the European Championship against Al Snow. Even though Christian no longer the Intercontinental Champion and the uh, picked up the European Championship along the way. And there it's funny, honey. I don't think I noticed it until I rewatched this show again for the purpose of this review here. There's a sign in the crowd that said, "At Christian's theme song is unlawful" or something like that. Whoever that fan was that brought in that sign, I can throw them out immediately because Christian's theme song at this time, it's not just Close Your Eyes, more specifically the waterproof blonde version, although the later version by Story of the Year is also really good. I do love both versions. I prefer the waterproof blonde version, as do most people, but both versions are good. But this theme song for Christian also is fantastic. So yeah, that fan is wrong. But also Al Snow, who is the head trainer on Tough Enough, so he comes out to the Tough Enough theme, and I do want to see he was more because Tough Enough season 2 was about to come out, if I'm not mistaken, or was in development, and around this time, if I'm not mistaken. So, but I do wonder, was that the season that Maven won? And I just want to see real quick. Is this as for the whole thing? I want to see if I can go to season 2. This is season. Um, okay, so Maven won the first season, and so let's see who. Maven and Nydia, I should say, won the first season, and it's crazy how a lot of times the people who really make the big impact on Tough Enough aren't the ones who actually win Tough Enough. I'm trying to see who won Tough Enough 2/season 2. That one. This was a season that had Matt Capitelli, John Hennigan, who would become John Morrison, and Melina did try out for this season. And oh yeah, and John Morrison was the winner. John Morrison and Matt Capitelli were the winners for that season. So good to know. Oh, I've actually never seen Tough Enough, but maybe I should watch it. Maybe I'll review it or talk about it at some point on the channel. Let me know if you guys want to see that. But now that that's out of the way, this match pretty all right. It's a decent little match to kind of start off the crowd and wake the crowd up. I think how they both do pretty well against each other. Christian and I thought at one point was busted open because I saw like red in his hair, but I think that might just be hair dye. So there will be blood on the show. Believe you me, there definitely will be. But he Christian ultimately he retains the almost at the cruiserweight championship, retains the European championship. So Christian remains the champion of Europe. Also, excuse me, I was going to say this for the main event, but I'll mention it here. Here, Paul Heyman and Jim Ross argue who because it's like the final show, this is the winner take all with Jim Ross being the main commentator for the for the WF, I should say, and then Paul Heyman being the commentator for the Alliance. They argue throughout the entire show. It kind of gets annoying. It's going to go into absolute overdrive by the main event, but it does get kind of annoying. It's funny at times, and their banter was pretty funny throughout the actual invasion storyline for the most part. I still think they make a very good duo, but it got pretty grating on the show. I'm not gonna lie, but Next William Regal will battle Tajiri. So these two did face off at Rebellion as well. Also, it's carrying over. So this one's technically a rematch. But of course, William Regal turned on the WF, joined the alliance. Tajiri very upset about it. And beforehand, and I believe it might have been the Raw before Survivor Series, if I'm not mistaken, or it might have been beforehand. William Regal was in a mixed tag. It was Regal and I forget who he was teaming with. Going against Tajiri and Tori Wilson, and William Regal just brutalized Tori Wilson. So Tajiri is also out for blood, and he does get it because William Regal's nose is busted open, and it does look pretty gross. But unfortunately for Tajiri, just like in just like in the UK, he comes up short against William Regal, who beats him this time with a roll up. So I guess props to Regal, but also just like in the UK, more specifically at Rebellion, Regal does attack Tajiri afterwards, and then also attacks Tori Wilson afterwards. She comes out to confront, to not confront, but to like comfort Tajiri, help him out and everything, and Regal attacks her as well. So, bad guy Regal, such a gentleman. But nevertheless, next up, the first unification match for the WCW United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. Edge, who is the U.S. champion, battles Test, who is the Intercontinental champion. Edge, of course, representing the WF. Test representing the Alliance. And some pre-match stuff beforehand involving both guys. Test is getting oil rubbed on him and says he wants to partay with Stacy Keibler afterwards. I believe. I believe they may have been dating in real life. At this point, I know they were dating in real life at one point, and they were like an on-screen couple as well. She was his manager for a bit. Especially after he cut his hair and started referring to his fans as testicles. But Tess is kind of flirting with Stacy Keibler and saying, we're gonna partay after Tess gets the win. And then meanwhile, Edge also he makes fun of Tess' accent and funny that he compares himself to Tess, saying, we're both blonde, we're both Canadian, and we both have very unique first names. That's one way of putting it. But as for this match was pretty alright, hey, for the most part. Right, Edge does manage to get the win over her Test as with another roll up city. He Actually, he Regal performed the Regal Bomb, which I believe is like the Tiger Bomb, and then Edge gets the roll up on Test. So man, even back then, they were beating people with roll ups. Roll ups was still a devastating finish, and I recognize I made the same joke when I reviewed Rebellion yesterday. But nevertheless, Edge unifies the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. The Intercontinental Championship would go on to so the United States Championship would kind of fade after this. The Intercontinental Championship would continue to be, defended, and a championship until Triple H unified the Intercontinental Championship with the, I believe, World Heavyweight Championship. I believe it was the next year in 2002 when first of all, when he was back, but also when he defeated Kane. So the Intercontinental Championship was also taken out, but eventually both championships were brought back. And lo and behold, to this day, in present day 2025, they're still championships. It's going to be still active championships in WWE. That is. The two main mid-card championships. But nevertheless, so Edge unifies the championships here. But next up in a tag team steel cage unification match, this being for the WCW Tag Team Championships and the WWF Tag Team Championships, it's the Dudley Boys, who are accompanied by Stacy Keibler, and who are the WCW Tag Team Champions, and hence battle the Hardy Boys, who are the WWF Tag Team Champion, and so, oh, uh, cage match. So a cage match between these two here to unify the championships. Of course, the Dudleys and the Hardys faced off many, many times before, even faced off multiple times throughout this year. But But kind of a weird way to start off this match because it starts off with tags. Like, even though they're in the cage, they still have to tag in, which I thought was really weird. And they eventually abandon it. Stacy Keebler manages to kind of do a sexy little dance for Nick Patrick in order to get the keys off of him to open the cage so she can slide in tables after Bubba tells her to bring in tables. Considering Nick Patrick works for the Alliance, though, Stacy probably could have just asked. Has yes, Nick Patrick was pushing back a little bit, but I'm sure if she asked nicely enough, I'm sure Nick Patrick probably would have just gave her the key. But it's not worth mentioning. But nevertheless, the tables are brought in, and Matt does escape the cage for her. So of course, there's pinfall submission or escape the cage. That's the steel cage rule. So Matt escapes the cage. Jeff goes to escape the cage. He climbs up to escape the cage. Uh, but then he gives in to his daredevil impulses and tries a dive onto, I believe, both the Dudleys, if not just Devon. On on I just want to check here. Yeah, so it was Devon. Devon was on the table. Jeff tried to hit the Swanton bomb when he had the match won. But Devon moved out of the way, so Jeff crashed to the table. Bubba crawls over to pick up the win over the Hardys. So the Dudleys are the unified champions, and it's crazy to think. And well, for starters, very, very fun match, very fun back and forth between both teams. Both teams are definitely able to put on great matches against each other, so I'm definitely not worried about that. And Jeff loses to a Freudian slip, and if you can believe it, and we'll get to this tomorrow, it will directly lead into brother versus brother, Matt versus Jeff at Vengeance. But we will get to that when we get to that. Next up is the Immunity Battle Royal. So, members of the WF and members of the Alliance duke it out. The entrants are for the WF. We have Bradshaw, Farouk, Landstorm, Billy Kidman, Diamond Dallas Page. Or actually, I'll just read off who we have in the match. We have Bradshaw, Farouk, Landstorm, Billy Kidman, Diamond Dallas Page, H. Albert, Taz, Perry Saturn, Raven, Chuck Palumbo, Crash Holly, Just Incredible, Sean Stasiak, Steven Richards, Tommy Dreamer, The Hurricane, Spike Dudley, Hugh Morris, Chavo Guerrero, Funaki, Billy Gunn, and Test. Yes, Test is also in this match as well. Oh, so how do you do? Well, Scotty Too Hottie, who was also in the pre-show, he was supposed to be in the Battle Royal. Oh, Test comes up to him and says, "Hey, are you in the Battle Royal?" And Scotty's like, "Yeah." Well, now you're not. Well, you aren't now. Oh, so Test pretty much just steals. He pulls a Royal Rumble, in a way, on Sky Too Hottie, Royal Rumble 2004, I believe it was, where he was attacked by Kane, or no, no, I'm thinking 2005, where he was attacked by Muhammad Hassan. It was Spike Dudley who was attacked by Kane in 2004, but at the 2004 Royal Rumble, that is. But so Scotty Too Hottie pretty much beaten down by Test, and Test takes his spot in the Immunity Battle Royal. As for everyone else, this match pretty much feels like a match filled with hey, so it's like the match essentially feels like, hey, so we didn't quite have a spot for you guys on the show. Battle Royal, anyone? And pretty much, Diamond Dallas Page is still doing the weird smiling thing and still doing like the poses and everything. But ultimately, the match, not a whole lot of sizzle on the steak. It's a battle royal. You probably know what to expect. It's a bunch of guys, a lot of punches and kicks, a lot of people being eliminated. Sean Stasiak is literally the first one out. Out. First one eliminated, and then Test finally at the end eliminates Billy Gunn. So Test wins immunity. So pretty much immunity means despite who wins, whether it be the WF or the Alliance, and Test will be safe from being fired because essentially the losing side will all be fired. So Test, even though he's Alliance, just in case the WF wins, and he will remain safe. He will still remain on the roster and everything. But so Test wins the immunity battle royal. Next up, a six-pack challenge for the vacant WF Women's Championship. Trish Stratus, Ivory, Jacqueline, Lita, Mighty Molly, and the debuting Jazz show compete in this match. Yes, Jazz from ECW is brought in, and William Regal said he had a surprise. He had an ace up the sleeve for the Alliance, and Jazz, as of course being in ECW, is brought in for the Alliance, and the crowd goes mild. Oh, there is literally no pop for Jazz, which is very, very sad. And now, to my knowledge, I don't think I've reviewed a Jazz match on the channel yet, and I think the closest I might have gotten is one of the one night stand reviews, the ECW one night stand reviews. In fact, let me just check to make sure. But that is pretty sad, and that is actually pretty sad to think about. How the people sadly had no idea who she was. As the only people, or the only person I should say, who's freaking out at all and hyping her up at all is Paul Heyman. Like, Paul Heyman is going crazy for Jazz, and also I just checked. Not only was Jazz not at the One Night Stand pay-per-views, there were no women's matches on the One Night Stand pay-per-views. Joy, but yeah, and I imagine probably because a lot of the women who were in ECW probably left by then, and but you brought in other people for like a one night appearance, but uh, no, nevertheless, the closest that we get to have an actual women's match is when Bigelow McGillicuddy and Lita were in the hardcore match at One Night Stand 2006, the hardcore tag team match. But hey, yeah, so no pop for Jazz, as even Jim Ross couldn't put her over. Paul tried his hardest to really put Jazz over. Or sadly, just didn't. As for the match, it was all right. Right, for the most part, Trish Stratus picks up the win by pinning Ivory. He not a whole lot going on. I guess this is probably of all the women's matches is that we've looked at for the Invasion storyline. This might be the best. As Jazz still had a pretty decent showing, but it's sad to see the lack of pop for her. But I guess that was just kind of it at the time. That was kind of emblematic of the state of the women's division at the time, and I guess really it's emblematic of the state of the alliance and team WCW, ECW, the invasion, all that, and I think that's very emblematic. I think of so many of the problems. But we'll get to that when we get to our final analysis. But it was pretty disappointing to see, even though I personally haven't reviewed a Jazz match so far on the channel. I still recognize that at still a pretty big deal in ECW. But yeah, unfortunately, the crowd and even Jim Ross couldn't be bothered. Jim Ross tries a little bit, but it was mainly Paul Heyman having to do so much of the legwork, and that's pretty disappointing. But never mind that, because it's time for the main event. Winner takes all, as the Alliance, hence that being Stone Cold Steve Austin, the WF Champion, Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, and Shane McMahon battle Team WF, that being The Rock, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, Kane, and The Big Show. Oh, of course, this is the big winner takes all home match for control of the company. One legacy will die, and it's hyped up all throughout the show. We see, and even as we're going into the match, we see the locker rooms of both the Alliance and the WF. The hype package shows the lead up to it here, and we see the various segments throughout the night of them preparing for this match. We see the dissension in the Alliance as Steve Austin, who return a smile that Vince gave to him. And so now, how because he returned a smile, well, surely that means he's working for the WWF. And then so everybody's freaking out. Austin tries to reassure, or there's tension between him, Kurt Angle, Booker T, RBD. The Lions really needs to get it together. Heather Austin reaffirms he's not a part of the WWF. Yeah, but Austin, you gotta admit, it looks kind of shady on your part, not returning Shane and Stephanie's phone calls, sharing smiles with Van, and hence the fact that Vince and this was also part of it. Vince and saying that a member of the alliance will defect back to the WWF of he or I guess an alliance member will defect to the WWF. I feel like I almost kind of spoiled it there, but you could probably see where this is going. So it's caused some disarray in the alliance camp. But eventually Shane and Stephanie try to reassure everyone. Stephanie is scared because she'll have to live a normal life. She'll have to shop for her own groceries, clean her house, do everything herself. Oh, uh, oh, yeah, I get it. Billionaire's gonna billionaire, but uh, yeah, but Kurt Angle tries reassuring Stephanie, saying that he trusts Austin, he believes in Austin. Meanwhile, Shane reassures Booker T, saying Shane trusts Austin, that Austin's fully in on the alliance. They're going to get the win. Meanwhile, Vince has a conversation with Linda, and I'm talking about these as they're happening one after. Like back to back, but really these are all throughout the show. Like I mentioned, Vince talked to Linda, saying that ish happens, and that and that's the nature of the business. He talks with Michael Cole, who does kind of an interview, saying that his 6 WF members will take out the 4 Alliance members, alluding to the mystery person who will help out the WF. But Vince saying he takes calculated risks and that it's allowed him to pay off, that it's paid off for him before and it'll allow him to win tonight, which he's entirely wrong about. Meanwhile, even before then, and Vince, and they throughout the show, they really hammer home the importance that, and I will give them this, they really big up the importance of this match. Like, this match is a very big deal. All our jobs are on the line. I know one legacy is dying permanently. They make a big deal about it to the point where, or even before the match, Vince kind of gives a pep talk to his guys, brings up the names of the people who have legacies in the WF, such as he brings up like Andre the Giant, High Chief Pierre Maivia. He looks right at The Rock, obviously, when he does that. That's saying that the fate of the WF is in their hands, and that if the WF loses, is all the members of Team WF will be career will be disgraced. Essentially, he pretty much saying if you lose, you're all gonna look like a bunch of freaking losers, and you will be and you pretty much almost won't have a career. So well, they show that importance and, throughout the night and through the hype packages, which I mentioned the opening hype package, but I also got to include how they show the history of the WF throughout. They show like Hogan, they show Hyper, they show like Austin, Bret Hart, stuff like that. And so very, very big deal. And now getting into this match technically between the review of this match that I already did a couple years ago for the channel. I reviewed this match individually, like on its own, and then the 3 times I watched the event, and the first 2 times was for the purpose of review, but obviously I didn't review them at this time, and then watching it here for this review here right now. This is technically the 4th time I've watched this match. But I'm not complaining too much because this match is still really good. But it's a really solid match. Between both sides, one of the biggest criticisms of the Alliance storyline was lack of star power, especially on the Alliance side. But this is still some really pretty decent star power, even if most of it is technically WF just on like the side of the Alliance. But but still pretty good in that department. And the stories we see unfolding, including the tension between the other alliance members. The funniest part is like in the first eliminations, Big Show is eliminated first when all the alliance guys hit their finishers on Big Show. Because he's big to eliminate him. And then Shane McMahon is eliminated when all the members of the WF have hit Shane with their finishers, or because he's annoying. Excuse me. Yeah, which was pretty funny. It is also worth mentioning Vince originally was supposed to be in this match. Vince was going to be on Team WF, and then Shane was going to be on Team Alliance. But Vince pulled out of the match. Big Show was substituted in, and so and he was eliminated first. So great to see it was worth it. But nevertheless, one by one, everybody gets eliminated until it's down to Kurt Angle, Steve Austin, and then The Rock and Chris Jericho. Oh, and stuff has been fun all throughout. I just like the action, but I think once it's down to the final four, two on each side, Rock and Jericho for Team WF, and then Austin and Angle for the Alliance, that's when things really pick up. Because we do see the kind of rocky relationship between The Rock and Jericho, and we and see how they have to kind of trust each other even though they don't like each other. Her Angle taps out, so he's eliminated. And then Jericho gets eliminated by Austin, and then Jericho is like, "Well, I'm eliminated. Get time to screw over the Rock, I guess." So their team, so the Rock and Jericho's team, essentially breaks down when Jericho hits the breakdown on the Rock. It still wasn't called the breakdown just yet at this time. I guess because it was still kind of a new move, and I guess also because it was kind of short lived. But Jericho nails the breakdown on The Rock afterwards, and essentially kind of screws over, or in a way, WF. So, everybody in the Alliance locker room is celebrating. Everybody in the WF locker room is pissed. As Undertaker comes out and pretty much gets in Jericho's grill, like, "Hey, what the hell was that for?" But now it's down to The Rock and Austin. So I guess technically this is your real WrestleMania 17 rematch. But had Austin and Rock pretty good back and forth. I had to think that Kurt Angle tapped out to Rock's sharpshooter, all sharpshooters. Austin locks in another sharpshooter, which is slightly better than the one he does at Rebellion, except he gets up way earlier this time, so almost kind of kills it immediately. But it's also worth mentioning, I don't think I did mention it, but Rock is once again WCW World Champion, and he beat Jericho on, I believe, excuse me, I believe the um uh I believe it was the November 1st episode of Raw, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look here. I want to make sure I got that right. Uh, Hey, November 1st episode of SmackDown, I should say. So, Rock is WCW World Champion once again, and I also learned in my research that Rock and Jericho were tag champions briefly, but lost it immediately back. Cool while it lasted, but yeah, so Jericho essentially screws over the Rock, but the Rock still fights back against Austin, and Nick Patrick shows up and takes out Mike Chioda, who's the referee. So we got referees fighting again, and Rock goes to take out Nick Patrick. Austin and Rock trade finishers again, kind of similar to what they did at WrestleMania 17. So there's a callback. Eventually, Kurt Angle shows back up. He's got the championship. Also worth mentioning, kind of like I mentioned earlier, Paul Heyman and Jim Ross arguing reached like an all-time high in this match. Admittedly, some of it is funny, but a lot of it is pretty annoying and pretty grating. I can't lie. But an Angle shows up with the championship. If you think he's going to hit Rock, but psych, he hits Austin. He was the undercover mole the whole time. Kurt Angle essentially screws over the Alliance. Rock picks up the win, and so Team WF wins. And the World Wrestling Federation is saved. I also forgot to mention. I think it was at No Mercy. There was a sign with the panda being crossed out. I guess that fan saw the writing on the wall. for what was going on between the World Wrestling Federation and the World Wildlife Fund. But yeah, so the Alliance is no more. Or we see the crash out from the Alliance locker room. Stephanie is literally crying. Meanwhile, the WF guys are celebrating. It's also worth mentioning from the moment Kurt Angle comes in and from the moment Angle hits Austin with the championship, to the moment, and then I guess all throughout the rest of the night, Paul Heyman is silent since he is in stun shock. The camera even pans over to him. Jim Ross is celebrating on commentary, but Paul Heyman just has like the shocked face. If I remember, I'll put a photo in the video here. So Nigel, note to yourself, put the photo right here. I probably put it earlier in the video, but or I will probably put it in once I go to edit this video. So the WWF stays on top. The WWF legacy is saved. Yay! And the alliance essentially crumbles. Well, so really awesome match in terms of action, storytelling, all that. This match just had it all. It was a very fun match. Match. A lot of people feel this is probably one of, if not the best Survivor Series traditional 5-on-5 matches of all time, and I am probably inclined to agree. Now, I haven't seen every traditional Survivor Series match, but this one was still really fun. It was great to go back and revisit. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. In terms of the strongest and weakest matches of the night, the strongest definitely the main event, and definitely a lot of fun. Honestly, if you don't watch anything else from the show, I would highly recommend the Team WF versus Team Alliance. That's partially why I reviewed it on its own some years ago. I believe it was back in 2023. As for the weakest, there are a few to choose from. You could go for the 6-pack challenge. You could go for Regal to Jerry because that one is the shortest match of the night. I could see you probably going for the Immunity Battle Royal, but I guess take your pick. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And just one more review to go. Final analysis on Friday, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do me a favor: like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, turn on those post notifications so you know every time I upload videos, so you never miss an upload. And let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on this match, my review of the match, this event, Survivor Series 2001, and my review. Did you like my review? Did you like the event? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow with vengeance. Peace. All right, so quick correction. I actually just realized that I do have to make this quick correction. The main referee, not Nick Patrick in the main event, was Earl Hebner, not Mike Chioda. I don't know why I said Mike Chioda. I think because he was in the show earlier, but yeah, just wanted to make that correction. The main referee in the main event was Earl Hebner. Okay, peace.